Good afternoon. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for live streaming in with us here on this Wednesday, August 5th at 4:30 Eastern Time, so 1:30 out there on the West Coast. The president will deliver a speech in Las Vegas on the success of the working families tax cuts. Speaking of the President of the United States, he recently spoke with reporters on the tarmac out there on the West Coast. Let's go to clip number one to start off our show.
Thank you very much. So we had a very successful event, as you probably know. A lot of good things happened. I have not found out who won the election tonight with Abdul. Who won?
Looks like it's going to go, it'll be a long night.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. That's what I heard. That's surprising.
The GSA co-chair says that socialists are the new base of the party. Is that true for Democrats?
It could be. I would say so. The communists are the new base. Yeah, I'd say so.
Where are we with Iran?
I mean, don't forget Abdul was way down a few weeks ago. Now I guess it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a horse race.
Mr. President, where are we with Iran?
We're moving along very nicely. We'll find out. We'll know in 48 hours.
Mr. President, what did you say to Denise Bureau yesterday in the Oval Office? And how did she explain what happened with the indictment?
Well, I just think she was totally wrong. They did a beautiful job. There were a couple of little things, but that was not a big deal. And everybody saw the vandalism. All you have to do is look at the tape. If you look at the tape, plus we have a witness or two witnesses that saw the vandalism. So certainly when there was vandalism, it was actually, in my opinion, it was major vandalism. And I told her I was not happy.
Is she safe? Are you going to keep her in the position?
I haven't made a determination.
Will socialists, if more socialists prevail for Democrats, does that hurt Democrats in the midterms so Republicans keep
What? What does what hurt?
If more socialists keep winning.
Look, they've got a party. It's a mess. I think it's a mess. I think they should form another party, the Communists of America Party.
Republicans have
I think they should have a new party, the Communists of America, and it will do well. It'll get about 10% of the vote.
On the Strait of Hormuz, Axios is reporting that it might open as soon as tomorrow.
Could happen. Tomorrow or
tomorrow or Thursday.
A lot of progress has been made.
What?
And they called me and they said, please, let's talk. They want to talk. The funny thing is they never mention that. They always say, we're not talking. But they called. They wanted to talk. We've been talking. They want to make a deal. They do not want to be hit. This was the biggest hit since World War II, as I've said. They did not, and they saw it happening. They saw all the goods being loaded. They saw everything. They knew exactly what was happening. And I think it'd be very smart to make a deal. We'll see what happens. They had a very good day. The negotiations were good. The stock market was up tremendously over the last 3-4 days. We set new records today in the stock market. Yesterday, today. I think it's like 78 times now during a very short period of time. So a lot of good things are happening. The trade numbers are phenomenal. You saw that. Our economic numbers are unbelievable, like never, ever before. The investment into our country is at a number that nobody's ever even imagined. We are doing really well. I'll see you on the plane, okay?
Max Miller, can you comment on Representative Miller?
I hope he's able to work it out. I feel badly for him.
All right, so President Trump there speaking with reporters on the tarmac, of course, in the Silver State today of Nevada. He'll be speaking at about 4:30 Eastern Time, 1:30 on the West Coast. Of course, we are live here on Right Side, getting ready to see the president about an hour and a half from now. We have a lot to get to within that 24/7 news cycle. We have a few live interviews to get to. And of course, we'll be talking about our great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Meantime, Vice President Vance held an anti-fraud task force roundtable with members of Congress earlier today. Let's take a look at a clip of that on number 2.
Thank you all. Good to see you guys. Thank you. Here, have a seat, please. Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all. And we are here to kick off what has at this point been an informal effort, which is working with Congress to help us combat fraud. So as you know, when the President of the United States started the Fraud Task Force and really set the federal government to taking a whole-of-government approach to the anti-fraud issue, that was mainly an administrative thing. That was something we were working with our colleagues at H&HS, at DOJ, at all of the various agencies of the federal government in trying to root out fraud. And I'd remind all of you and remind the American people and remind what these congressmen and senators don't need reminding, which is that fraud is really a dual victim crime. The most obvious victim, of course, is the American taxpayer, who has their hard-earned tax dollars stolen from them to enrich people who are violating our laws and taking advantage of our country. But I think more profoundly and more sadly, the second victim of fraud are the people who benefit from programs that the American people have set up in their generosity and in their kindness of spirit, and those programs don't function as well or don't even have the resources necessary to work because they've been stolen from by fraudsters. I think an example that is particularly close to my heart because we have a 2-week-old newborn at home is a program that we set up through the Medicaid program to actually provide high-quality health care to new moms and to newborn infants. To people who can't afford high-quality health care, we, as a generous nation, ensure that they have access to the resources that they need. And yet, we have, working with DOJ and others, we have identified, prosecuted a number of cases of people where they have taken from this program, not provided an ounce of service to a new mom or a young baby, and enriched themselves by literally taking money from the medical care of newborn infants. This is despicable behavior, and it's something that we've allowed to go on for too long in the United States of America. I'm very proud that you could not just look at these sort of qualitative stories about what's going on, but we can actually measure the success of the Fraud Task Force. Working with Andrew Ferguson and with Steve Miller, two of the great all-stars of the Trump administration, we have been able to identify $230 billion of fraud just since the Fraud Task Force was set up, and that's frankly by conservatively estimating it. Andrew and I had a meeting in my office last week, and he said, do you want to estimate it conservatively or do you want to estimate it aggressively? And I said, well, I kind of want to estimate it aggressively, but then all you people will criticize us. So let's estimate it conservatively so that we can give the American people the most rock-solid explanation of how this task force is working to protect their money. We've been able to stop $56 billion in fraudulent payments that would have otherwise gone to fraudsters rather than to the people who need them. And in the process, we've saved, obviously, the American people a lot of money. But as much as we've done and as much as we've had great successes, and this brings me to my final point before I kick it over to Andrew, this effort will fundamentally always have a limitation unless our colleagues in the House and the Senate are working with us. We don't want the next administration, whoever, God forbid, you're going to have President El Sayed in 3 years. We don't want him to undo all the incredible work that we've been doing when we've been taking out the fraudsters and saving the American people money. And in order to make this really work, we need our colleagues in Congress to really codify some of this stuff, to make sure that it becomes law. And again, this is the sort of thing where, while I see only Republicans surrounding us today, we really have been able to work in some cases with Democratic governors and Democratic attorneys generals on the anti-fraud task force. And we would love, I'm not necessarily holding my breath, but we would love to work with Democrats in Washington to codify some of the anti-fraud actions that we've taken and to take it to the next level. There are a few things that we really need to do and that we can't do at the federal government without the cooperation of the Congress. And the first that I would say the most important of these is data sharing. So when we've looked at the anti-fraud efforts that we've taken, one of the weirdest and most difficult parts of this is the black box that exists around certain state programs. So for example, the SNAP program, which provides food resources to low-income people, it quite literally feeds hungry moms and children in our country, something that is very important and that I know every person at this table supports. We know that there is a lot of fraud in the SNAP program. We know that there are illegal aliens who benefit from the SNAP program, people who have no legal right to be in the country. We would like to stop that. But I think the American people would be shocked to learn, because I was certainly shocked when I learned it a few months ago, that when we send tax dollars to the states to administer the SNAP program, we have no visibility into who is ultimately getting those benefits. In other words, if the state of California gives those food stamp benefits to an illegal alien, to a violent criminal, the federal government has no visibility, and sometimes the states themselves have no visibility. So we need to work with Congress, and we need some legislation that would actually force some data sharing between the state governments and the federal governments. We need to know where your tax dollars are going, and if the state of California or the state of New York isn't going to tell us, we need Congress to force them to tell us, and I think that's the first and most important thing that we would like to do. The second is that we would like to see stiffer penalties for fraudsters. One of the things I said at the very beginning of the task force is that I was shocked by how often we would just let low-level fraud go. Like $1 million of fraud, that's a lot of money. A person who had enriched themselves to the tune of $1 million, sometimes we wouldn't even prosecute this stuff. And even when we do prosecute it, we are limited by the penalties applied. The most important thing that we can do in prosecuting fraud is to make sure that the people who engage in fraud actually suffer some real penalties. And so we would love to work with all of you and see some stiffer penalties for the people that we're successfully prosecuting. We are throwing a lot of people behind bars, but we're limited by in some ways by the statutes that exist. We'd like to change those statutes and actually make it harder for people to commit fraud and make sure that when they do commit fraud, they go to jail, and they go to jail for a long time. And finally, we need a little bit of money, not a lot of money, and frankly, we're saving way more money than we're taking in, but the Fraud Task Force, it involves every single agency of the federal government. Every single cabinet secretary has been great, and I want to give a special shout out to some of our all-stars, Bobby Kennedy at H&HS, Kelly Loeffler at SBA, Brooke at the Department of Agriculture. We've really had a whole of government. Our soon-to-be new Attorney General, Todd Blanche, has just been amazing to work with, and I know other people will say more about that. But we need a little bit of resources, because while we're saving the American people billions and billions of dollars and we're not spending very much, we need a little bit more appropriated to expand this fraud effort. I think we'll save even more money in the process. It's the sort of investment that, unlike most of the money you guys spend, it never comes back to D.C. Every dollar you give us comes back at least 5 or 10-fold. So it's a good investment, and it's the sort of thing that we need to see happen. But without further ado, I want to kick it over to our amazing co-chair of the task force, Andrew Ferguson. You see him on TV. He's amazing. But most importantly, behind the scenes when he's not on TV, he's doing amazing things for the American people. This whole thing would not work, and would not work as well were it not for Andrew's hard work. So great job. Great to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and welcome to all my friends from the Senate and from the House. We're very pleased that you're here. I want to thank President Trump for creating this task force and assembling us here today. He is the first president in American history to take this fraud issue, which is an existential crisis for the American Republic, seriously, and none of this would have been possible without him. And second, the Vice President. The only way to confront fraud through the whole federal government is to have the guy that sits atop the rest of the federal government in charge of it. Nothing that this task force has accomplished, and the Vice President just read a lot of the amazing accomplishments of the task force and the whole federal government, is possible without the leadership of the Vice President of the United States. Fraud is not just about the numbers. We hear about the big numbers, we just heard them today, but fraud hurts real people. It hurts all of us by taking our hard-earned money out of our pockets and putting it into the hands of the most reprehensible people in this country. And second, it hurts real people in specific physical ways. The best example I have of this involves skin substitutes. Fraudsters, up until this year, were performing unnecessary surgeries on elderly Americans in hospices and nursing homes because they would then submit those claims to HHS, and HHS was reimbursing those claims to the tune of billions and billions of dollars a year. Fraud doesn't just hurt us all in our pocketbooks, it physically is maiming real Americans, and that's what this is about. It's not about the numbers at the end of the day, it is about protecting ordinary Americans from the worst of us. The second thing about this fraud effort that is so important is that it is about restoring social trust in America. All of the programs that the fraud effort has focused on were set up for a high-trust society. The Vice President was just explaining the difficulty in obtaining data to fight fraud. When Congress was creating these programs, some of them almost 100 years ago, we didn't expect that these programs were going to be attacked by fraudsters to the tunes of billions and billions of dollars a year. We expected, because that's the America that we were, that everyone would play by the rules, that the money turned over to help our friends, our families, and neighbors would be made available only to the people who really needed it. And that is just not true anymore. And so this effort is not just about protecting our programs, making sure that fraudsters don't bleed them so dry that they cease to exist. It's also about restoring social trust in this country. And so with that, I want to talk about two of the things that I think Congress can do to help us address both of those problems. The first is on social trust, and the Vice President touched on this just a minute ago. People commit fraud against our programs because it is relatively easy. And one of the reasons that it is easy is that the punishments associated with much of the fraud are relatively low. We have seen what can happen in America when you really vigorously enforce the laws. Just take the last year and a half in this country. Violent crime is at an all-time low, and that's for two reasons. Number one, thanks to President Trump and Stephen Miller and others in the administration, the border is sealed and the criminals are not coming here anymore. And number two, thanks to Todd Blanche and the men and women of the Justice Department, we are vigorously enforcing our criminal laws and making sure that people who commit crimes suffer the consequences. That has to be true for the fraudsters. Every single person who considers raiding one of our agencies and taking money out of our pockets needs to think long and hard about what might happen to them if they are caught. And under this Justice Department, they will be caught. And so we want to work with Congress to dramatically increase the sentences associated, even with low-level frauds, to incent both the Justice Department to prosecute all fraud all the time, and to make every fraudster think long and hard about whether it's worth facing a long time in jail before deciding to raid our programs. And then the second thing that we need to focus on has to do with another thing that the Vice President talked about, which is data sharing. Fraud is easy because data is difficult to get, and data is the enemy of fraud. One of the things that the Vice President has accomplished using this task force is that almost all of the agencies are now using automated AI-driven tools to find the fraud before the money leaves the agency. But the only way that works is if we have data. And right now, data sharing is difficult, and for a lot of our programs like SNAP, which is an incredibly important program that we want to protect in this country, like the Vice President was just explaining, states don't have to share data with us in order to participate in the program. Data sharing should be a requirement for participating in these programs because that will unleash the power of American AI ingenuity and innovation in these agencies to stop the fraud before it happens. Because once it goes out the door, it's very difficult to get back. The pay and chase doesn't work. And so the way you stop fraud is you keep Americans' hard-earned money in the agencies unless it's going to someone who actually needs it. And for that, we need data. We need data to make sure fraudsters don't get it, non-citizens don't get it, and the only way for that to happen is if we have data. And the easiest way for that to happen is not through rulemakings, it's not through guidance, it's Congress stepping up and saying, if you want to participate in these programs, if you want access to American taxpayer dollars, you have to share data so that we can fight fraud. And any state who doesn't want to share data, we should learn a lot about the leadership of that state. If they want to protect fraud more than they want to protect ordinary Americans, something really rotten is happening in that state. So those are just two of the things that we want to work with Congress to accomplish here under the Vice President's task force. And with that, I'll turn it over to Stephen Miller.
And we're going to hear from Stephen Miller in just a little bit as we are live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll get back to the remaining part of the anti-fraud task force, led, of course, by the Vice President there, but of course under the Commander-in-Chief President Donald J. Trump. So speaking of the President, we'll hear from him from the Silver State out there in Nevada, in Las Vegas, to be exact, at about 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 on the West Coast. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, this all brought to you by some great sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy. You know, being prepared is something Americans have always understood. We prepare our homes before a storm. We prepare our finances for the unexpected. So why wouldn't we prepare our medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are saying, you know what, I'm going to All Family Pharmacy, an American independent pharmacy, because they've made it easier than ever to find the prescription medications that you need. You know, instead of searching only medication by their name, you can now search by the medical condition itself. So if you're dealing with a sinus infection or respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for those conditions. You know, everything is reviewed by a licensed U.S. physician, actually a number of them, U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. Now, all you have to do is complete that secure medical form, and if appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide your prescription. Then your medication is shipped directly to your home. So all you have to do is visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code. You get 10% off at checkout. You can also talk with a real person over maybe an AI voice prompt. But talk to the real person there if you have any questions. At All Family Pharmacy, you see that number 561-717-6794. Let's go from All Family Pharmacy to Birch Gold Group, because you don't wait until your house is on fire to install a smoke detector. You don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. And of course, you don't reach for your seatbelt after an impact, because after the crash or the hurricane or the house fire, it's just too late. So within that framework, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. So we have an option here. You can diversify with precious metals now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. Persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. You don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step. You can do that right now by requesting a free info kit on gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. All you have to do is text Trump to that number, 989898. There's no cost and no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or 401k, with gold. We trust Birch Gold. You can trust them too. Text Trump to 989898. Get that info kit by texting Trump to 989898. All right, it's 3/22, Wednesday, August 5th. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for live streaming with us as we get ready to go to Nevada, the Silver State. Looking forward to that coverage here on the network on this Wednesday. Let's go back to the Vice President to wrap up the anti-fraud task force meeting. And specifically, we'll hear from Stephen Miller right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for your leadership on this bold and existentially important initiative. Thank you to Mr. Ferguson for your incredible work and stewardship of this task force. And of course, thank you to President Trump for his extraordinary leadership in establishing this task force, assigning this portfolio to the Vice President, and providing direction, focus, and determination to the whole U.S. government. It's great to see all of my friends in the House and Senate who are here today, who have been such tremendous allies, not only on this issue, but so many issues, and in some cases for a very, very long time, since 2015 and before. And so thank you all. I want to pick up, because this is something that I've encountered on a daily basis, on a theme that both the Vice President and Andrew Ferguson have mentioned, which is the lack of criminal responsibility, the lack of criminal punishment for egregious fraud in this country. It is, first of all, true, as the Vice President said, as hard as it is to believe, that for most recent history, which in the case of these programs would be in the history of these programs, if you committed $1 million of fraud or less, you were unlikely to ever be criminally punished in any way at all. And if for some strange reason in the past, a bureaucrat had the courage to defy that agency guidance and actually bring you to trial and put you in front of a jury, you'd be unlikely to do any real jail time at all. And this may be hard to believe, that you could steal hundreds of thousands and ultimately millions of dollars and not do any significant jail time. Again, you can look at the sentences for the Feeding Our Futures fraud, which is one of the largest frauds in the history of any country anywhere in Minnesota, to see this. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think probably the simplest, least conspiratorial explanation is that when Congress was drafting these statutes, they still lived, to use the phrase that he's left in a high-trust society, and it eclipsed their imagination that there would be systemic, widespread, continual lying, fleecing, and organized crime to rip off hundreds of billions of dollars from the American taxpayer, which is what has happened. So there needs to be strict, clear, mandatory minimums. Because by the time you've been convicted, you have already proven to a jury, this is not a civil punishment, this is you've proven to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that you deliberately, willfully, maliciously engage in a scheme to steal from the American taxpayer and from those in genuine need. And when you've satisfied 12 jurors of that fact and been convicted, you deserve to have a very substantial prison sentence. That change alone would be watershed for fighting fraud, because it would mean that the Department of Justice would be able to, through prosecuting a few hundred or thousand cases in a year, be able to chill the criminal conduct of millions. Whereas right now, no matter how many people you prosecute, you're still left with the criminal element thinking, I'm willing to risk 6 months in jail for $5 million in ill-gotten gains. And we've reached a point, and again, only because of President Trump and the Vice President's leadership is this happening. We've reached a point as a country, until we came along, as hard as it is to believe, where we have federal law enforcement in cities around the country who have to conduct weeks or months-long investigations of daycares where there are no children present at all, to be able to then go into a court of law and say, no kids on Monday, no kids on Tuesday, no kids on Wednesday, no kids on Thursday, right? And this is the real thing. We have federal law enforcement officers who then they have to issue subpoenas and search warrants to get phone records, email records, financial records. And what does it all end up with? You go to a jury in Minnesota and you say the defendant has collected $7 million for a daycare, claiming to be taking care of 100 children for 6 months, and we found one kid attended in that entire time, and he was the nephew. So you spent months of federal effort. When you do that and you're found guilty, you belong in jail for a very long time. I'm almost over my own time here, so I'll just add to the other point the Vice President said, which is on data sharing and technology and integrity, you can solve 95% of this problem with simple technological verification and data sharing measures that is in technology that was invented 20 years ago. Now, the technology today, of course, is even more astonishing. But if every single person who wanted to enroll in SNAP or enroll in Medicaid or enroll in public housing was in a shared database that the federal government had access to verify age, citizenship, criminal record, other basic biographic facts, that single step alone would save taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. And you have to ask yourself, why would any politician oppose something so fundamental? We're not even debating eligibility rules, an important but separate debate. We are debating whether or not a person is lying to the government to extract funds for which they are plainly and clearly ineligible. The time has come to implement these reforms. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Thanks, Steve. Vince?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. We gather today because President Trump has made stopping the fraud and corruption in our welfare programs a governing priority. Thank you to Vice President Vance, Chairman Ferguson, Stephen Miller, and Executive Director Brady for their leadership in carrying out this duty, and to the members of Congress here for joining in this important work. In the time I have, I wish to offer 10 very practical, common sense, and likely very popular proposals to fight fraud in our welfare programs for congressional consideration. 1, all government agencies must verify that every Medicaid provider or SNAP retail store is actually legitimate and eligible for payment before any payment is issued, rather than paying first and checking later. 2, require criminal background checks and fingerprinting for healthcare providers in categories with high rates of Medicaid fraud, and re-verify provider credentials at least every 3 years. 3, require states to verify every welfare applicant through the federal government's free database system that verifies immigration status in real time before issuing any taxpayer-funded benefits. 4, require states to compare welfare rolls every month against death records, wage records, and incarceration records. 5, double the number of welfare fraud investigators so that more fraud and corruption cases can be aggressively investigated and prosecuted. 6, upgrade welfare benefit cards used for food and cash assistance to have secure chip technology with a photo and expiration date. 7, prohibit high-risk retailers such as some liquor stores and smoke shops from accepting taxpayer-funded food stamp benefits. 8, end the use of government-issued pre-populated forms to do automatic re-enrollments into Medicaid. 9, eliminate so-called self-attestation, which allows applicants to simply report their own income and household information on welfare applications without providing documentation, and instead requiring proof of income and eligibility before benefits are approved. 10, require state taxpayer-funded Medicaid programs that issue payments to health insurance companies on behalf of people who had already died to stop immediately once a death is recorded, and require those insurance companies to return any money collected after the enrollee's death. Finally, I suggest that members of Congress call out as corruption the behavior of state and local leaders who refuse to enforce common sense fraud controls or purposely embrace loopholes that avoid individual eligibility validation, allow self-certification of eligibility, expand eligibility far beyond what Congress intended, and as a result, trap millions of able-bodied adults into a life of dependency. Fraud steals taxpayer dollars, but such corruption steals something even more precious. It steals the blessings and benefits of work. The greater injustice is not stealing money from taxpayers. It is taking purpose from another human being and diverting resources from the truly needy. Every year an able-bodied person spends trapped in unnecessary dependency is a year not spent developing skills, earning promotions, providing for a family, serving a community, or discovering what they are capable of becoming. This corruption fraud occurs when public officials knowingly tolerate or design systems that deny people the benefits and blessings of work because dependency serves personal, political, or institutional interests. Whenever public officials knowingly preserve systems that deny able-bodied Americans the blessings of work, whenever they choose to look away because dependency serves such interests, people suffer, not because they lack talent, not because they lack dignity, but because those entrusted with public authority failed to act. Our responsibility is to root out fraud and corruption in our welfare systems, send people to jail who steal benefits, and make it impossible for public officials to escape their responsibility to establish systems of accountability and program integrity so that more Americans will realize the benefits and blessings of work. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Vince, and thanks to everybody else for being here. We're now going to have a conversation about exactly how we can better work together, about how we can advance some of these legislative priorities. But we're going to do that conversation without 100 cameras in the room. So to the press, thank you for being here. We'll see you soon.
And as you see at the top left of your corner, that was earlier today. We are live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's the bottom of the hour. Seeing a couple news items come across our wires, if you want to call it that, even though it's really our phones here. Rapid Response 47 saying confirmed. Dr. Erica Schwartz has been confirmed as the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So she's the director, Dr. Erica Schwartz. Also, RFK Jr. over at the Department of Human and Health Services, Health and Human Services, made an announcement within the past 30 minutes. Just saw that come across the wires. So we're going to go to that clip in a little bit. We have a live interview on deck, but we have to go through some great sponsors here on Right Side, including Tax Network USA. You see right there, 877-479-6503 or tnusa.com/RSBN. The question is simple. Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, or maybe you pulled money from your 401k or IRA early and now the IRS wants its share? You know, really, however your tax issue started, the outcome is the same. Your balance just not going down, penalties growing, interest compounds, and then you have all these financial questions, maybe some financial headaches. Well, Tax Network USA, consider it a financial assistance in the sense of getting you to where you need to go. Because the IRS is not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, and property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. And this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. They have over 15 years in business. There hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. And they specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide. And that's where I'm talking about the financial assistance in the sense of advice and getting you on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to call now because they're offering that free investigation call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place. This is to resolve your tax problem and just get you back on track. And it's really about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So you don't have to wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Just call 877-479-6503. That's 877-479-6503 or tnusa.com/RSBN. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to one more sponsor before our next live interview. You know, it turns out long before our framers were founding a nation, they were the original dog people. Their dogs walking around the halls of Mount Vernon and Monticello, muddy paw prints on important documents, probably. Our founders love their dogs every bit as much as we love ours today. And with America's 250th birthday, what a better way to get kids excited about history than through the fun, loyal, tail-wagging companions who are there for it all. Our friends at the Kids Guide have put together a great guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders of Furry Friends, giving kids a fun and heartwarming look at the dogs who stood and sat and probably begged for scraps beside our nation's founders. It's the perfect keepsake souvenir for kids, and they're giving it away for free at freeusadoggift.com. Plus, when you request your copy, they're also giving you a second free guide called The Kids Guide to the Founder's Message for Today, a must-read for every child. So during these dog days of summer, head on over to freeusadoggift.com right now to get these free guides for your family and help celebrate America's 250th birthday the right way. Let's go now live as we get ready to go to Vegas in about an hour from now to hear from President Trump. We know that we have the National Religious Broadcasters President Troy Miller joining us. Thanks again for joining us, sir.
It's great to be with you.
Great to be with you as well. It's always fun to have you on the broadcast. Let's talk about something way off topic in the sense of, have you seen A Great Awakening, that Sight and Sound movie yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. This is something that just came out. I mean, I say just came out. It's been a few months, but it is awesome because it's based in our founding as a Christian nation and the Constitution. And the pastor, George Whitefield from England, who escaped there and became friends with Benjamin Franklin. And before there was a revolution, there was a revelation of no king but King Jesus. It was pretty awesome. Great movie. Your thoughts about that? You know, we still are celebrating Freedom 250 here at the network because, hey, we're still in our 250th year.
Yeah, we are still in our 250th year, and they're great people. Sight and Sound do great productions. I saw one of the early screeners of it, and of course the trailers, and it's a wonderful story, and it really is a foundational story about America, because behind America's founding, behind the founding fathers, was their faith, and the faith that they held, and the faith that this nation held. You know, we're in the 250 year. I've often talked about that we're kind of in a Bible literacy crisis today. But back at that time, the average American citizen would be considered a Bible scholar because they really were in the Word every day and they lived it out in their life. And that's just a great story to tell that what that founding was like and what was behind this. It's just so wild to watch, you know, and to see that the 13 colonies, you know, they're all, the leaders are all meeting in Philadelphia, and this guy from across the pond getting rejected from the Anglican church there, or the Church of England, and then all these people here, these great patriots, hearing this message from George Whitefield, and what a great movie there. And to your point, let's talk about now, though. Let's fast forward to 2026. Yeah. Christians have to get out to vote, don't they? Do their part as well. Not just pray, but vote and pray. That's right. They have to put their faith to feet, to action, not just to, you know, as you said, just to pray or have this personal faith. But look, Christianity has always impacted the cultures it's been into, the cultures it's came into, and it impacted our own nation in that founding. Again, if it wasn't for the Black Robe Regiment, for example, those pastors who were up in the pulpit speaking, we might not be where we're at today. And so we have a responsibility as Christians to be good citizens as well as we do to be good church members. You know, let's dive into this. This is an interesting topic. I've brought this up before a few times over the past couple of years, but I wanted to hear your take on it. You know, a lot of times we look at maybe an election coming up, maybe the midterms, or maybe 2024 or whatever. And there are some that say, well, whatever happens is going to happen, God's will, and it's just going to be that way. But then if we all decide not to go and vote on November 5th of 2024, God's probably looking at us being like, I'm waiting on you to move, not for me to move, right? Well, yeah, I mean, we could say that. It's funny that we say that about politics, but we don't say that in other parts of our Christian life, you know. We don't say that about our Sunday school responsibility. Well, if I learn the Bible, you know, I learn the Bible, that's God's will. Or if I teach or I get involved or if I give to my church. We won't say it about that, but we sort of have this fear. I think it's really been pushed on us in the culture because of this whole idea of separation of church and state. And of course, not enough of our pastors get up and talk about our civic responsibility as Christians. But it's interesting that you bring that up, that we don't do this in any other area but politics. Yeah, I mean, we see that a lot out there. We also know, though, on the grand scope of things, that the robber
next to Jesus on the cross there, put his faith in Jesus right there. And Jesus said to him, I'll see you in paradise. So that robber didn't do any so-called good works, but he put his faith in Jesus, right? So that's what's awesome about salvation. It's a free gift to us. We can accept it or not, and that's just the way it goes. But outside of that, within politics, again, it's a 1-2 punch, figuratively speaking. When you pray, like it all depends on God, but you work hard, like it all depends on you. Am I right?
Well, you're exactly right, because nowhere in the Bible, go back and look at James, and James says, look, you talk about faith. He said, you show me your faith because of your words. I show you my faith because of my actions, because of what I do, how I live it out. And that's what God's called us to be, salt and light in this world, to be that beacon on the hill. It's really active faith that makes the difference. And we live in a country that's an experiment. It's been unlike. Our Constitutional Republic allows us to be involved in the process that's going to pick leadership. And leadership, it doesn't matter who you are. Leadership is going to portray somebody's worldview. And Christians should be out there making sure that leaders are aligning with the Christian worldview and not a secular worldview or a Marxist worldview or an Islamic worldview, but a Christian worldview. And I'll tell you why, because that worldview, we know if we really love our neighbors, that is the best worldview for anybody to live underneath.
That's so true. I'm thinking about the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, born again Christian. I mean, at the end of the day, we see all that. Now, here's the thing, sir. You and I both know we're still in the United States. We still have our freedom of speech. But the future may not, I'm not just talking about America here. I'm just talking about our faith in this God that we call Jesus, because I'm sure there's probably going to be a massive amount of persecution over in the future. I mean, if you look in the Bible and all the stuff that might happen. I mean, you look at Nigeria, you can't even, if you're not even the right kind of Muslim in Nigeria, another radical Muslim will go after you, let alone go and slaughter Christians. We've been talking about this. I know it's a heavy topic, but since we're on it, so it's easy for us right now, sir, to talk about it, right? I mean, it's great, and that's what we want to keep happening, to be able to speak freely about what we believe in. And if you don't believe in Jesus, well, hopefully you do someday. If you don't, thanks for watching still, because we have a country to save, to have the freedom of religion, right?
Well, we have a freedom to save, not only a country that to have the freedom of religion, but as the founding father said, the freedom of expression, to live out that religion in our life, to not have the government's worldview or somebody else's worldview be forced upon us. One of the things that we would lose, some of the recent Supreme Court rulings have been, outstanding about Christians' ability to live out their life in the public sector. But that is under attack. That would go away. There are a lot of people that would like to eliminate that, like to erase the First Amendment altogether. And look, you only have to look across to Europe, and I lived there for a while to see what's going on. You don't have that freedom in Europe anymore. You can't even on your own social media. They've arrested people for simply quoting the Bible on social media.
The thing that's
wild how bad
is
it can get.
A lot of people think, well, American and Christian and all of that. Well, yeah, that's true. However, a Judeo-Christian principle and philosophy. Think about the Old Testament, the New Testament. It matches up for saying things like the Great Commandment. It has nothing to do with hurting someone. It says, love God with all you have, basically. Love your neighbor as yourself. I could get behind that. And Troy, final word here. Even Christians in Iran or in Singapore or in China or in the Middle East, anywhere in the Middle East, anywhere in the world, they get persecuted in certain ways, whether it's death or whether it's or attacked or whatever. And that's what we have here is we don't have that here in the sense of we are able to speak about our faith. So it's wild to see. So it's not just a thing of just America is a Christian nation. I get it. There's Christians all over the world, and they get persecuted, and it's just wild to see it, sir.
It is wild to see it. And look, the recent report by Voice of the Martyrs is that Christianity is the most dangerous faith to hold around the world. And so that's a scary thought. But again, in this country, we have the opportunity to be involved in the process of selecting our leaders. And as tight as the races have been in recent elections, if Christians just turned out even by 5 or 10% more, we would decide almost every election across this country.
Well, you heard it there from the president of the National Religious Broadcasters, Troy Miller. Thanks again for your friendship to the network. We look forward to seeing you again here on RSBN.
Thank you.
Definitely. Awesome stuff. Great to talk about it. Again, I mean, if we were live in Paris right now, or if we were live in Tokyo or wherever, how about Dubai? You know? We'd still be talking about this stuff, but would they allow that, though, to go over the internet or the airwaves? That's why we talk about freedom all the time here at this network. God, I love freedom. And I don't say God in vain. God, I love freedom. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's move on to some of our sponsors here as we get ready to see the president in about 45 minutes or so. All Family Pharmacy is one of our great sponsors, as you know. Being prepared is something Americans have always understood. We prepare our homes before a storm. We prepare our finances for the unexpected. So why wouldn't we prepare our medication in the sense of our medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are choosing All Family Pharmacy. They've made it really easy, really easier than ever, to find the prescription medications that you need. So instead of searching only by medication name, you can now search by the medical condition itself. And whether you're dealing with a sinus infection, respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for those conditions. Everything is reviewed by licensed U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. All you have to do is complete a secure medical form, and if appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide your prescription. Then your medication is shipped directly to your home. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that code RSBN10 to save 10%. Also, if you don't want to talk to an AI voice prompt, which, I can't stand AI voice prompts. All I say is, can I talk to a real person? Can I talk to an agent? Can I talk to a representative, right? Well, that's what you'll get here. You won't get the AI, you'll get the real person. So if you have any questions, call 561-717-6794. Now, I'm not against AI all the way through. I think AI can be used in a number of ways for good, just like the internet can be used for a number of ways of good, but it's also been used for not good. You know what I mean? So that's what we're about to see start happening, and I believe in the country and around the world is a lot more AI. It's just what we're seeing happen. All right, so let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You know, you don't wait until your house is on fire to install a smoke detector, and of course, you don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. And you don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact, because after that crash or that hurricane or the house fire, it's just too late. Within that framework, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. So you can diversify with precious metals now because you never know what will threaten your savings next. We have persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. We don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step. And you can do that right now by requesting a free info kit on gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text Trump to that number, 989898. There's no cost, no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or a 401k with gold. We trust Birch Gold. You can trust them too. Text Trump to 989898. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back here on the network.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust to your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Luxpier's 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus, free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Okay, so if you're an expert in the 24/7 news cycle, and all that means is you simply are in the know of what's happening in the sense of a lot of headlines that we're seeing out there, then this is not news to you. But for those of you that are, maybe you kind of go back and forth, you check out the news headlines, but you have other things go on in life like we all do, right? Well, the press release from MyPillow reads, Mike Lindell steps down as MyPillow CEO to focus full-time on Minnesota governor's race. So that is a press release that was out much earlier today. So to those that don't know that, well, Mike's stepping back from MyPillow to focus in on this Minnesota gubernatorial election. Of course, we know that August 11th, so 6 days from now, is the primary election in Minnesota. So we'll see what happens on that day. But of course, Mike running for the governorship there, and he just joined us, I believe, actually yesterday. He was here on the network, so it was great to interview Mike. Also, if you didn't get a chance to watch that interview, it's posted all over the RSBN social media platforms. And the only way we would play that interview again today is if President Trump is an hour or two late. But I don't think he will be. We'll see. Meantime, within the hour, RFK Jr. made an announcement from the Department of Health and Human Services. Let's go to that. Clip 12.
I'm announcing that HHS has become the decertification of Network for Hope, the organ procurement organization serving Kentucky and parts of Indiana, Ohio, and West Virginia. We reached this decision after extensive reviews by CMS and HRSA found persistent patient safety failures despite repeated oversight, repeated warnings, corrective action plans, and multiple opportunities to improve. Federal reviewers found serious deficiencies in nearly 30% of the cases that they examined. We found patients placed on the organ donation pathway who should have never been there. We found cases where the donation process continued despite signs that patients were not appropriate organ donors. We found repeated failures in clinical judgment, oversight, and patient safety. And we found that these problems continued even after the organization promised to correct them. These failures had real consequences. One of those cases involved TJ Hoover. TJ showed signs of awareness while on the operating table about to have his organs removed. Physicians refused to proceed with the organ recovery because they believed that he was still alive. Because they acted, TJ is alive and is here with us today. TJ, we are grateful that you're here, and we're grateful to those physicians who had the courage to do the right thing.
Some scary stuff right there. Wow, RFK Jr. announces the decertification of the organ procurement organization Network for Hope due to persistent patient safety failures. Again, RFK Jr. within the hour, that announcement was about 54 minutes ago, that he announced the decertification of an organ procurement organization called Network for Hope due to persistent patient safety failures. So RFK Jr. continuing to win. Great to see that under another winner, President Donald J. Trump. So we're seeing a lot go on right now as it's pushing 4 o'clock here on the network. We'll hear from the president about 30 minutes from now, maybe a little longer. Let's go to a few of our sponsors in the meantime here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You see mypillow.com/RSBN. We were talking about Mike earlier. Of course, you can check out a number of his great products and the team in Minnesota that create these very high quality products with a really, really good price. Everything from the premium My Pillows to the Giza Dream Sheets, the My Coffee, the list goes on. mypillow.com/RSBN. Great stuff there with Mike Lindell. If you'd also like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. rsbnetwork.com/donate. All right, let's do this. Let's go to our next live interview of the day. Joining us now is Air Power Foundation Executive Director. Hey, Director, how you doing? Melissa Keenis to talk about our nation's great veterans. Hey, I'm glad that you could have a nice personality with me and laugh. I'm glad you're not offended by me calling you a director.
Not at all, Matthew. And thank you so much for having me on here today.
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell us about the Air Power Foundation? Tell us about your organization.
Absolutely. Air Power Foundation, we've been around for over 27 years, and we support our military, past, present, and future. That's our active duty, reserve, and guard, our veterans, and then, of course, our junior ROTC.
That's awesome. I understand that your foundation actually just announced the launch of 3 new veteran mental health programs. Can you elaborate on that? Because we know that is one of the major things going on in the country. You got to get taken care of when it comes to mental health.
Yes, and I can talk to you about this all day long because it is something we are very passionate about, and the need is great. So we just launched 3 incredible programs. One is the Equine Therapy and Retreat Center in Decatur, Texas, and anyone from the U.S. can participate in this opportunity. You know, there's just something special that happens between that a horse and a human. That connection really begins to help our veterans and the families. It's open to families as well to begin to heal. And so we're really excited about this opportunity where families can come, individuals can come come for the weekend for a retreat, have some fireside chats, get some support that they need, have that connection once again. So we're really super excited about our equine therapy program.
That's awesome.
And
it sounds like you have a few more, but I actually can ask you a question.
Sure.
You know, how do we bridge the gap from if someone is suffering from PTSD or you go through boot camp, you go and see horrific things in war, you come back and you have to get back into life. And, a lot of times a guy like that, he's like, no, I'm not doing any mental health, therapy. That's for sissies or the whole thing. It's not. I really think mental health is a great, therapy is a great thing to do, whether you have to use some medication. I mean, everybody has their own opinion about all that. But how do you bridge the gap between, that possible Navy SEAL or that Army soldier and still being able to communicate that it's still okay to be like, hey, how do I navigate what I'm dealing with here? I don't think it's weakness.
And it's okay not to be okay at times. And one thing that I really love about this program is that it is a veteran who is providing these services. So it's somebody who understands and really knows that some of the trauma and challenges that they have been through and how to assimilate back into civilian life. So, and sometimes it is just another veteran inviting that other veteran to come and just come hang out with the horses. Come, let's go do some skeet shooting. Let's do a little bit of fishing over here at this place that has a little bit of help along the way.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about let's just take an example of a vehicle, or how about just the physical body? If you break your arm, you go to the hospital. I got to get this thing fixed. This hurts. Give me medication or surgery, whatever you got to do. This pain's horrible. But isn't it interesting that when there is some other sort of pain, mentally, emotionally, whatever is going on, people are like, "Oh no, I'm not going to touch that."
Yeah.
It's physical, emotional, mental. They're all real things, aren't they?
They are very real, and it is so challenging because we all have that tendency just to draw in and not talk about it and just tell everyone that we're okay when we're not. And so I think that, again, having these opportunities for our veterans just to gather again, because they share with one another. And, and anyone can be part of these programs by going to our website, airpowerfoundation.org, or going to our social media, Air Power Foundation, to learn how you can connect with other veterans, to begin to open up and to begin to have these conversations, and to remember that it's okay to talk about it.
If you have a 1968 Corvette, everything looks great on the outside, it's running great, but you know what? The battery is starting to, oh no. Right? We fixed the battery. It's the same thing, I think, with people. We have to and not only for veterans, for everybody. I think it just needs, the stigma with the mental health thing, it needs to stop. It just needs to stop. Well, what do you think is the reason why a lot of this crap happens out there? It's because people are off and they're not getting help that they need, right?
Right. And I think there's a lot of judgment at the Air Power Foundation, we talk about suicide. It's a real thing. It happens every single day. Mental health is not just a challenge for our veterans and our veteran families. It's an epidemic throughout our country. And so we have to begin to speak about these things. We have to name what it is. And then we have to provide solutions and pathways so that individuals can find the help that they need and provide hope. That's why we're here, is to provide an opportunity and a pathway to hope and to have a wonderful life. You've served our country. You've sacrificed everything. Let us stand in the gap for you. Let us provide this opportunity for you to find not just healing for yourself, but for your families. It's also our families that go through some of these same challenges with their spouses.
Where could people go for the Air Power Foundation information?
airpowerfoundation.org, or you can find us on our socials at Air Power Foundation.
The Air Power Foundation Executive Director, Melissa Kiedis. Thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you for having me, Matthew.
Definitely. Sometimes you just have to go there, right? You got to tell it like it is. You got to ask the questions like it is, because that's what people want. I'd rather have people just be real, right? I want to resonate, or I want to see authenticity. Because so many years, all we've been seeing, in the mainstream media, good afternoon, welcome to the show. We're going to lie to you for the next hour and a half and act like it's news. Not anymore. Thank God for conservative media. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Kalshi.com/RSBN. If you would like to bet or trade or check out a poll, you can. There's 3 ways to get the Kalshi, of course, the QR code, the website, Kalshi.com/RSBN, or the Kalshi app. 3 ways to get the Kalshi. There's a lot of different topics that you guys could check out if you'd like. Politics, there's a politics tab, elections, community, sports, weather, science, technology, the list goes on. Great sponsor here on Right Side. Let's go from Kalshi, I believe, to covepure.com/RSBN. Most of us know there is chlorine in our tap water. Sometimes we can smell it, sometimes we shrug, and then we drink it anyway because we've been told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water, and that's why it's so important to filter your water through CovePure. Chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated are chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. So, when chlorine interacts with those particles, we're told it creates chemical byproducts called THMs. The government calls THMs probable human carcinogens. They've been linked to disruption of your gut. They've also been linked to cancer. So those pitcher filters that you see at the store, they just won't fix this, because what they do is they improve the taste of chlorine by masking it. But THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what CovePure is. Their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. And it's not just chlorine or THMs. So fluoride or PFAs, pharmaceuticals, basically if it isn't water, CovePure removes it. And this thing doesn't take up much room at all. It's a sleek design, sits right there on the counter. You plug it right in, you don't have to call someone in to install it, none of that stuff. The best part about Cove Pure is it lets you actually choose whatever temperature water you want. So that filtered water, when it comes out, can be hot, cold, or warm with the tap of a button. And finally, the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. And people have told us they can literally taste the difference. Clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. So right now, they're giving our viewers $250 off if you use our link. Go to covepure.com/RSBN. That's covepure.com/RSBN. Don't wait. All right, 4:05, Wednesday, August 5th. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. I'm not sure if we have a live picture out there in Washington, D.C. to see just what the temperature is like, or at least, I guess you can't really tell the temperature by looking at a picture, but you can in a way of humidity. If it's hot, hazy, and humid, you know it's pushing 90 degrees. That looks like, I'm going to guess 85 degrees. Let me check on the fly. Am I right? 85 degrees in D.C., 87. 2 off. Not bad. I like weather. Anyway, let's dive into the historic tax relief for working families and seniors within the Silver State. Per the White House, we're seeing no tax on tips. That more than 440,000 Nevada tipped workers, including those in Las Vegas, the birthplace of this landmark policy, saved an average of $10,000 this filing season. Of course, talking about Nevada, the Silver State, because President Trump's out there. He's going to be in Vegas. He's already there and is speaking in about 25 minutes or so. No tax on overtime. 150,000 Nevada workers saved an average of $3,000. No tax on Social Security. 500,000 Nevada seniors paid 0 federal taxes on their benefits. So 500,000 people. Bigger refunds. Nevada's average tax refund rose 15% to $4,193, among the highest in the nation. And then investments in rural health. Nevada secured nearly $180 million in the first-year funding under the Working Families Tax Cuts Rural Health Transformation Program. And then finally, protecting Nevada's economy. The Working Families Tax Cuts, which the president will be talking about, and I'm sure other topics. Those working family tax cuts safeguarded $10 billion in state GDP and $5 billion in wages for Nevadans. So just a few facts and figures there for Nevada, as the president will be there in just a little bit. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Luxpier's 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus, free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back. In case you missed it, Mike Lindell has stepped down from MyPillow as CEO to focus 100% on the Minnesota governor race. Of course, August 11th is the primary election day for Minnesota. So that news today from Mike. Also, we'll go over maybe some of those dates. We've been doing that, or I've been doing that a number of times for the primary election dates that still remain in our country. States like, I think Tennessee is tomorrow, actually. August 6th is Tennessee. We have a number of other states that we'll get to in just a little bit. You know, to be honest, why not go there now? Because we've got a lot to get to, and I don't want to forget, and I don't like saying we're going to do something and then we don't do it. So let me get to that number here as I scroll through all of the information. All right, now I have it. August 6th, tomorrow, Tennessee. August 8th, Hawaii. On August 11th, there are some specific U.S. House districts for the various primary elections in Alabama. So House districts 1, 2, 6, and 7. Most of the other races were on May 19th. Also on August 11th is Connecticut, as I mentioned, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin. August 18th, Alaska, Florida, and Wyoming. August 25th, there's a runoff in Oklahoma. And then there's 4 dates in September, and each date has one state. So September 1st, Massachusetts. The 8th, New Hampshire. September 9th, Rhode Island. September 15th, Delaware. This, as there is, as I mentioned all the time, every time I talk about the states, when it comes to the primary elections coming up, there's the midterm RNC National Convention in Dallas, Texas, which will be on September 9th and 10th. And that's as we get ready to remember 2 huge things that have happened in our country. One, of course, September 11th will be the 25th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in New York, D.C., and of course in Pennsylvania. And then the day before that, September 10th, we remember the late, great Charlie Kirk, who was taken from us. And that September 10th will be 1 year since that happened in Utah. I cannot believe it's been a year. We've obviously had a lot of coverage about Charlie over the past year, but you know, his voice still lives on. His legacy still lives on. What he stands for still is here with us. So let's go to a few of our sponsors in the meantime as we go from DC out to Vegas in just a little bit. All Family Pharmacy is that sponsor. So being prepared is something Americans have always understood. Of course, we prepare our homes before a storm, which, by the way, there are some storms heading our way right now. I could hear it outside. We prepare our finances for the unexpected. So why wouldn't we prepare our medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are just simply going, you know what, I'm going to choose All Family Pharmacy, an American independent pharmacy. They've made it easier than ever to find the prescription medications you need, because instead of searching only by medication name, you can now search by the medical condition itself. So whether you're dealing with a sinus infection, respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for those conditions. Everything is reviewed by licensed U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. So just complete a secure medical form, and if appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide your prescription. Then your medication is shipped directly to your home. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use code RSBN10 to save 10%. Call 561-717-6794 and speak with a real person who can answer your questions. Let's go from All Family Pharmacy over to our next sponsor here on right side. As you see, Birch Gold Group. All you have to do is text Trump to 989898. That gets the ball rolling, because you don't wait until your house is on fire to install a smoke detector, and you don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. And of course, you don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact, because after the crash or the hurricane or the house fire, it's just too late. And within that framework, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. So you can diversify with precious metals now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. Persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. We don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step. And you can do that right now by requesting that free info kit on gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text Trump to the number 989898. There is no cost and no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or a 401k with gold. We trust Birch Gold. You can trust them too. Text Trump to 989898 to get the ball rolling there. Good stuff. Good sponsors, of course, All Family Pharmacy, Birch Gold, and the list goes on. And we'll be talking about a lot of our sponsors here on Right Side as we will go to the Silver State in Nevada. And I remember the last time I was in Nevada, I believe was in Reno, Nevada, for one of President Trump's campaign stops. It may have been, again, that my wife and I were in Vegas for another conference. After that, it kind of gets all, you know how it is. It gets all tied in and you don't remember which year you did this or that or whatever. All right. It's 4:15, as you guys know, on the East Coast, 1:15 out there on the West Coast. So that means we're getting close to President Trump within the next 15 minutes or so. And speaking of the president, let's go to clip 4, a Trump on truth. He said manufacturing is booming. Factory activity just hit its fastest pace in more than 4 years, far exceeding expectations. New orders have expanded for 7 straight months. American manufacturing is back. The stock market is at an all-time high and setting record after record because investors know America is winning. American exports are on fire. U.S. goods exports have now topped $200 billion for the 5th consecutive month, and we are on pace for nearly $2.5 trillion in goods exports this year. Numbers nobody thought possible just 2 years ago. The president says the fake news and the Democrats are doing everything they can to distract people's thoughts from these massive successes, but it's getting harder and harder for them to do so. With trillions of dollars of new investment pouring into the United States and more factories, more construction, and more high-paying jobs on the way, the results are impossible to hide. The president says right there at the bottom, this is the golden age of America, and we're just getting started. We're already achieving heights that nobody thought possible, and the biggest victories are still ahead. President Donald J. Trump. Trump on Truth right there. If you're not on Truth Social, hopefully you get on there as well. And X and some other great sites out there. The DOJ, switching gears a bit, has located fraud in the state of Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at clip number 5.
This team of public servants is committed to looking further, digging deeper, working night and day to unmask the fraudsters stealing the wealth of America and bring them to justice. And this commitment is reaping dividends right here and right now in Pennsylvania. Today, we are announcing criminal charges against 19 defendants for fraudulent home health care schemes that targeted Pennsylvania's Medicaid fraud program and resulted in over $4 million of fraud. 18 of these defendants were charged in the last 12 days as part of a strategically coordinated law enforcement operation between the Fraud Division, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office. The cases today build on the work that we recently announced in Minnesota, where we charged 15 defendants for systematically looting 7 state-managed Medicaid programs out of more than $90 million, treating those programs like a piggy bank until one of them had to be shut down entirely because there was nothing left. The shelves were empty. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is one of the highest spenders for home care services in the nation, with spending on home care services exceeding $8 billion in 2025 alone. These home care programs are designed to allow America's most vulnerable to live with dignity at their own home instead of being forced to leave their families for a nursing home. The program is innovative. It allows friends and family members to receive funds from Medicaid to provide necessary physical care for a loved one. Used properly by honest citizens, the program allows those with physical ailments to be cared for by those they trust the most. But infiltrated by greedy and deceitful opportunists, this program becomes a money tree, a gravy train for criminal fraudsters. The cases today make that abundantly clear.
We've reviewed Pennsylvania's personal care billing trends. I'm going to give these numbers to you slowly because they're really important. This is the federal government's data on Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania ranks 5th nationally in average monthly payments, both per beneficiary and per provider. That is way out there. Be number 5 in both those categories. More expensive, that is, in 45 states. Over 96% of personal care claims here are illness unspecified. That's how they're titled. So we can't track them. It doesn't help if the U.S. Attorney or the Attorney General can't possibly find the fraud because people aren't actually telling us what they're really doing. We have to change that history that's evolved here into the norm. And finally, average payments per beneficiary, more than $50,000. Think about that, $50,000 per person getting home care in this state on average, far above what you'd ever expect. All this points to fraud.
Allowing drivers who cannot read stop signs or understand police officers' instructions threatens the safety of every American on our roadways.
We're here in Indiana cracking down on illegal drivers who may be behind the wheel of commercial motor vehicles.
Semi-driver comes through not paying attention, just creams a car.
4 people lost their lives. They were going home to see their family.
Over the last year, we dove deep into realizing there are a lot of fraudulent activities that are occurring in the trucking industry. So us at FMCSA are working closely with all partners, a holistic of government, to rein in the fraudulent activity and criminal activity.
You picked up in Wyoming?
Wyoming. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you just said South Dakota.
If you do not want to do things by the book, by the rules, get out of the business.
I promise you that I will fight as hard as you're fighting to make sure we get this right.
There's nothing more important than the Save America Act. I think they should stay. They do what they want, but I think they should stay. I think it's so important to get it passed. Yeah.
Let me tell you what I think of when I think of the SAVE Act. I think of integrity in American elections. Now, you don't have to be a senior at Caltech to know that the American people, no matter what your political philosophy is, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Socialist, Communist, whatever, you wonder about elections now. You wonder about the integrity. I mean, I don't know how widespread, if at all, this is. But in New Jersey, we just discovered that the entire population of Bolivia is registered to vote in New Jersey. That's a bit of an overstatement, but after saying there's no problem with our voter rolls, we discover stuff like this. And we just witnessed elections in California that take months to resolve. When it takes a month to declare a winner to the good people of California, what do you think they're going to think, particularly the loser? Look, if America's going to survive, we've got to be, in terms of your party, you've got to be willing to lose and accept that you've lost. And in order to do that, you've got to trust in the election. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in the last 6 months that should have been an email, that could have been an email, to talk about the Russian sanctions bill and to talk about election integrity and to try to get a consensus. It's not going to happen. Not in my natural lifetime, not in yours, Madam Chair, though you'll live longer than me, and not in yours, our friends in the gallery. We gotta vote. And we need to vote right now. And the American people expect it. And if there is a motion made on this floor to have us remain here until we get our work done, I'm gonna vote yes. I'm gonna vote yes. I can tell you right now. And what is the work we need to get done? In no particular order, we need to pass the Russian sanctions bill. We need to pass the budget resolution, which will include election integrity. We need to confirm Todd Blanche. we need to pass the continuing resolution to keep government open until December the 11th. We need to vote on the cryptocurrency bill, which we've spent years on. And if we're waiting to take those votes to get a consensus, it's not going to happen. Did I mention that's why God made votes? When reasonable people disagree. And that's what we need to do. Did I leave out anything, Madam President? We need to get our business done.
America is worth saving. And because it's worth saving, we need to stay here and get our work done. Look, the Senate Democrats have been unprecedented in their obstruction, and that has made things harder. Meanwhile, the Democrat Socialists of America are making their own set of progress, their own gains. And we can't ignore the very real threat posed by insecure elections as all that's happening. It's not too much to ask. To say, let's stay here and make sure that we can save America by securing elections. Let's get it done.
All right, we're here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You might be wondering, what happened to the picture behind me? Maybe you haven't looked at the screen yet. A bit of a power outage, a little power hit in the grid, and then we're getting our computers back up and running. We could still go live. We have a backup system and all the things. So as that gets ready, let's go to a few of our sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including Kalshi.com. Actually, All Family Pharmacy right there. Being prepared, of course, is something that you got to do when it comes to All Family Pharmacy, because Americans have always understood being prepared. We prepare our homes before a storm. We prepare our finances for the unexpected. So why wouldn't we prepare our medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are choosing All Family Pharmacy. They've made it easier than ever to find the prescription medications you need. And instead of searching only by medication name, you can now search by the medical condition itself. Whether you're dealing with a sinus infection, respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for those conditions. Everything is reviewed by licensed U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. Just complete a secure medical form, and if appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide your prescription. Then your medication is shipped directly to your home. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use code RSBN10 to save 10% or call 561-717-6794. And speak with a real person who can answer your questions. Let's go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Beer's 6-piece towel sets. Towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus, free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Full steam ahead here as it's now 4:30 on the nose on the East Coast and 1:30 on the West Coast. So that means President Trump will be taking to the stage here, and I believe within the half hour. Of course, he'll be speaking about the working families tax cuts coming up. All right. We just saw Mike Lindell. Obviously, Mike, if you haven't heard, he has stepped down from his CEO position at MyPillow. This as he focuses 100% of his energy to run for governor in Minnesota. That primary election date is August 11th. Earlier this week, the president launched the first ever U.S. Military Spouse Commission. Let's go to a recap on clip number 3.
I'm Jennifer Hegseth, chairwoman of the first ever Military Spouse Commission. Thank you, Mr. President, for putting military families first. To all the military spouses and families, I want you to know you have an incredible group of women working on this. They have years of experience of living these issues themselves and want to leave it better than they found it.
It's amazing to be able to serve with a president that actually truly loves our military. And not only does he love our military, he loves you, the spouse, the kids. On behalf of 435,000 soldiers and airmen and over 1.5 million families for the National Guard, we are so excited to be part of this Spouse Commission for our military, working for you.
We're here to serve you. This is going to finally give us the voice that I think all of us military spouses have been wanting and advocating for years on end.
And we are honored to serve you, spouses and families of the Air Force and all military branches.
We're looking forward to working hard for all of our military spouses.
We consider this a privilege to be chosen to sit on this commission to advocate for all of our joint forces across the globe.
I've been a Marine spouse for 39 years, and I understand what these issues are from traveling around and listening to all of the family members.
It's a privilege to be here to represent Navy and Marine Corps families and to give families and children a voice that they haven't heard before. Thank you to President Trump for this opportunity.
I feel honored, and I just want you to know I'm going to fight super hard for the spouses and the kids and the representation, and I'm so thankful that the President of the United States has been able to embrace what we all love in America, and that's the spouses of those that serve.
Every military spouse in America can rest assured. We hear you, we see you, and we're here to help.
Looking at a beautiful shot there. This is from the Washington Monument there of the National Mall. You can see gorgeous, do you say partly sunny or do you say partly cloudy? I say partly sunny. Now, when you go from D.C., where it's about 85 degrees, if you go all the way to where President Trump is, in the desert, in Las Vegas, I just checked, let me try that again. I just checked the temperature there. 110 degrees out there, 110 degrees in the desert. I know it's August, I know it's the desert, I get it, but there is an extreme heat warning. It's still going to go up by 1 degree to 111. Just imagine living with those kind of temperatures. The people in Arizona are probably like, duh, we do that all the time, but I hear you. 111 degrees. Tomorrow's high, 108, all the way to 109, 105, 101. And the low temperature, the low temp in Vegas, tonight will be 84, 85 tomorrow. Holy smokes. But you're looking at DC, of course, where it is 85. So today's high temperature around 85 in DC right now is the low temperature of what it's going to be in Vegas. Anyway, fun to talk about weather a little bit. We're awaiting President Trump. And speaking of President Trump, just about 15 minutes ago, he said the following on Truth Social. We don't have the graphic for you. I didn't send it to the team because it's more of a brief one. So I'll just read it to you. He says, quote, I was 28-1 last night on endorsements, and numerous of them were outliers. But if you studied the fake news, you would think it was just the opposite, 1-28. All they talked about was the one, and that's why they call it the fake news. President DJT talking about that, specifically talking about, I guess it was the El Said character in Michigan. Anyway, for that one so-called loss. But 28-1, pretty good record right there. All right, let's go to a few of our sponsors as we're live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including TNUSA.com, Tax Network USA. First, out of the gate, if you just want to give them a call, 877-479-6503. Some of the questions that come to mind are, have you filed every year but still keep owing when it comes to your taxes? Or maybe you pulled money from your 401k or IRA early and now the IRS wants its share. However your issue started, the outcome is just the same. The balance is not going down, penalties growing, interest compounds. It's just a headache. And the IRS, they're not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, property seizures, and they could even file for you without your consent. So this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. They have more than 15 years in business. There hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved, and they specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 bazillion dollars, you get the point. Their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to call now because they offer this free investigation call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. And this is really about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Give them a call at 877-479-6503 or go to tnusa.com/RSBN. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side. You see it right there, freeusadoggift.com. Turns out long before our framers were founding a nation, they were the original dog people. Their dogs walking around the halls of Mount Vernon and Monticello, muddy paw prints on important documents, maybe. Our founders love their dogs every bit as much as we love ours today. And with America's 250th birthday, what a better way to get kids excited about history than through the fun, loyal, tail-wagging companions who are there for it all. Our friends at the Kids Guide have put together a great guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Furry Friends, giving kids a fun and heartwarming look at the dogs who stood and sat and probably begged for scraps beside our nation's founders. It's the perfect keepsake souvenir for kids, and they're giving it away for free at freeusadoggift.com. Plus, when you request your copy, they're also giving you a second free guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Message for Today, a must-read for every child. So during these dog days of summer, head on over to freeusadoggift.com right now to get these free guides for your family and help celebrate America's 250th birthday the right way. We are awaiting that live picture in Las Vegas, President Trump to speak about the working families tax cuts. And if you remember the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime and all of that, well, that whole no tax on tips story happened, as President Trump talks about, and I'm sure he'll talk about today, maybe. At his Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas, one of the servers there, while the president was having dinner with a number of people, said something about no tax on tips. I don't want to have tax on tips. And President Trump, when he talks about the story, he says, "Could you say that again?" She said, "No tax on tips." And then there you go. This is the birthplace of no tax on tips. That's where we're going to head here in just a second here on RSBN on this Wednesday, August 5th. Thanks again for joining us here on the network. You know, yesterday, our great United States Coast Guard celebrated 236 years of saving lives. Let's take a look at this highlight video clip number 9. Awesome stuff right there for the United States Coast Guard. Switching now to American energy independence. It's something we're seeing in the United States every single day. Let's head to the Lone Star State to hear from Secretary of Energy Chris Wright in clip number 11.
In the simplest terms, I'd say the Trump administration goal is to build big things in America again. lean in on our energy industry, grow our energy production in this country, use that energy to power local industries as we're seeing spring up and grow to scale around Brownsville, and export that energy to our friends and allies all around the world. We are thrilled to see the range of large projects, the major investments in job creation going around in Brownsville, and that doesn't just happen. It needs to be made to happen. So I thank all the leaders standing behind me at the port, all the business leaders we just met with that believe in investing in large scale in the United States, building jobs in our country, growing our energy production, and having the benefits of that increased production flow through in lower costs to American citizens, lower costs to American businesses, and as businesses grow and hire more workers, that pushes up wages.
If you're just joining us now, we are also, talking a lot about the Save America Act in the sense of a number of videos that we played just moments ago. And South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman said, quote, "The Save America Act is a common sense constitutional bill." I haven't heard anybody say it that way. That's perfectly put, isn't it? It's a common sense constitutional bill, the Save America Act. Hopefully, we'll see it as a law. But what we've been hearing from John Thune is that there are not enough Republican senators who are going to switch over to nuke the filibuster. There are no Democrats that want free and fair elections. They like the fact that there are how many mail-in ballots, by the way, fraudulent mail-in ballots were there out there for the 2020 election? Oh my gosh, I'm an election denier. I don't care. Because we saw, this is the thing, when you have the receipts, the evidence, the proof, the truth, not only from that specific aspect of it, then you've got the court of public opinion kind of just looking at it, seeing President Trump win in that first administration, going with that momentum into 2020. COVID happens, the pandemic, and a lot of the mail-in ballots start happening. Let's mail in the votes, guys. It's time to take this election. Let's rig it. There were 6 people at one of Biden's events, and they were sitting in circles. The reporters were. I wouldn't have attended that event. You know what event I did attend, even while I worked in local media back in the day? I think it was back in where President Trump was in Pennsylvania. I worked in local news. I haven't told that story, I don't think, here. And anyway, working in local news, I saw the president twice, actually, 2 events in PA. And it was like when I heard "God bless the USA" and the USA chants, and I'm with the fake news. I mean, then I wasn't with Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're talking, I don't know, what is it, 2021, 22-ish? I started here in 22, but September of 22, so maybe earlier that year, one of those years. So I saw the president there, and I was cheering you guys on. I was up there on the media riser, and I was like with one of the networks, local news, right? But I was with you, and I clapped when I wanted to. I put my hand on the heart, you know? So just know that sometimes you never know who's up there on those media risers. So when sometimes everybody would be pointing at the fake news, "Oh, we hate you, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, guys, I'm one of you. I'm one of you guys. But now it's easier when you hold a RSBN mic flag, and that's what they call those little things, right? It says RSBN, it's called a mic flag. So now you kind of know, okay, those guys are for us, and there's a few other networks out there. And when I say for us, you can't go wrong with being for freedom, for we the people, for our Constitution, for a fighter and Commander-in-Chief President Trump. Remember when he said fight, fight, fight back in the day? I mean, legally, lawfully, and spiritually. That's pretty cool. I just thought about that. Good times. Anyway, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Some great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to Kalshi. All you have to do is just check them out. I mean, you can go to the QR code. You can go to the website, Kalshi.com/RSBN, or you can download the app. And they have a number of things on there, including, 2028 presidential runs and all of that. Who's going to run, and people are betting and trading, but also checking out the polls. You can do the same if you'd like. Kalshi has more than 1 million users on their site. That number continues to grow. So let's go from Calshi to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You see Cove Pier right there. We are still awaiting, again, that live picture into Vegas. As soon as we see it, we'll take you right there to the president. You know, most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. We smell it, we shrug sometimes, then drink it anyway because we've been told, hey, it's what keeps our water safe. But what they didn't tell you, and what they don't tell you, is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pier, because chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated is chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter. That organic matter comes from rivers, soil, plant matter. And we're told when chlorine interacts with those particles, it creates these chemical byproducts called THMs. The government itself calls THMs probable human carcinogens. They've been linked to disruption of your gut and to cancer. Those pitcher filters that you see at the store, they just won't fix this because they improve the taste of chlorine, but THMs require something far more powerful. And that's exactly what Cove Pier is. They have this clear wave reverse osmosis technology. It's certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So it's not just the chlorine or THMs. It's fluoride, it's PFAs, the pharmaceuticals. Basically, if it isn't water, Cove Pier is going to remove it. And this thing doesn't take much room at all. You can just put it right on your countertop and plug it in. You don't have to call someone in to install it, anything like that. And the best part about Cove Pier is it lets you choose whatever temperature water you want. No more waiting for the kettle to boil to make a cup of tea or coffee. Just tap a button and you get hot, cold, or warm water instantly. And finally, the feedback on Cove Pier from our viewers has been incredible. People have told us they can literally taste the difference. Clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. Right now, they're giving all of our viewers $250 off if you use our link. So just go to covepier.com/RSBN. Again, that's covepier.com/RSBN. Another great sponsor here on Right Side and another great product right there, as you see. We are 14 minutes from the top of the hour. It is going to be 5 o'clock somewhere in just a little bit, 5 o'clock on the East Coast. I guess that's 2 o'clock on the West Coast. Of course, that's the time zone that President Trump is in Vegas right now, as we will be seeing him any minute. As soon as we see that feed, we'll take you there, as I mentioned earlier. Let's dive in once again to the historic tax relief for working families and seniors within the Silver State, so within Nevada. So the no tax on tips, more than 440,000 Nevada tipped workers, including those in Las Vegas, the birthplace of this landmark policy, saved an average of $10,000 this filing season. How about no tax on overtime? 150,000 Nevada workers saved an average of $3,000. No tax on Social Security. 500,000 Nevada seniors paid zero federal taxes on their benefits. There are bigger refunds that we're seeing out of the Silver State as well. Nevada's average tax refund rose 15% to $4,193, among the highest in the nation. There's also some investments in rural health. Nevada secured nearly $180 million in first-year funding under the Working Families Tax Cuts, this rural health transformation program. And then protecting Nevada's economy, the Working Families Tax Cuts safeguarded $10 billion in state GDP and $5 billion in wages for Nevadans. So we see a lot of numbers there coming out of that state. Now, if you've watched since the top of the broadcast, first of all, thank you for doing so. We started at 3 o'clock Eastern. There's a couple clips. There's one we have not played yet. It is, and in case you missed it, it's Mike Lindell's interview from just yesterday, where, of course, today's news is that he has stepped down as CEO of MyPillow simply to focus 100% of his efforts on that gubernatorial race in Minnesota. Again, August 11th is the primary election date for that. And another clip that we did play once, it was President Trump's most recent press availability on the tarmac out there on the West Coast. I believe this was taken last night. So here's how we're going to rock and roll for the next few minutes. If we see President Trump anytime from now until these clips are done, of course, we'll go right to President Trump directly. Let's go to the president right now, where he spoke with the press just recently, clip number one, what we started out our broadcast with as we're standing by, the president's schedule was 4:30 Eastern, so 1:30 out there on the West Coast for the start of the speech. But as soon as we see it actually start, we'll take you there. So let's go to the president right now.
Thank you very much. So we had a very successful event, as you probably know. A lot of good things happened. I have not found out who won the election tonight with Abdul. Who won?
Looks like it's going to go, it'll be a long night.
Oh, really? Oh. That's interesting. That's what I heard. That's surprising.
The GSA co-chair says that socialists are the new base of the party. Is that true for Democrats?
It could be. I would say so. The communists are the new base. Yeah, I'd say so.
Where are we with Iran?
I mean, don't forget Abdul was way down a few weeks ago. Now I guess it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a horse race.
Mr. President, where are we with Iran?
We're moving along very nicely. We'll find out. We'll know in 48 hours.
Mr. President, what did you say to Janine Pirro yesterday in the Oval Office? And how did she explain what happened to you guys?
Well, I just think she was totally wrong. They did a beautiful job. There were a couple of little things, but that was not a big deal. And everybody saw the vandalism. All you have to do is look at the tape. If you look at the tape, plus we have a witness or two witnesses that saw the vandalism. So certainly when there was vandalism, it was actually, in my opinion, it was major vandalism. And I told her I was not happy.
Is she safe? Are you going to keep her in the position?
I haven't made a determination.
Will socialists, if more socialists prevail for Democrats, does that hurt Democrats in the midterms so Republicans keep
What? What does what hurt?
If more socialists keep winning.
Look, they've got a party. It's a mess. I think it's a mess. I think they should form another party, the Communists of America Party. I think they should have a new party, the Communists of America, and it will do well. It'll get about 10% of the vote.
On the Strait of Hormuz, Axios is reporting that it might open as soon as tomorrow.
Could happen. Tomorrow
or Thursday.
A lot of progress has been made. And they called me and they said, please, let's talk. They want to talk. The funny thing is they never mention that. They always say, we're not talking. But they called. They wanted to talk. We've been talking. They want to make a deal. They do not want to be hit. This was the biggest hit since World War II, as I said. They did not, and they saw it happening. They saw all the goods being loaded. They saw everything. They knew exactly what was happening. And I think they'd be very smart to make a deal. We'll see what happens. They had a very good day. The negotiations were good. The stock market was up tremendously over the last 3-4 days. We set new records today in the stock market. Yesterday, today. I think it's like 78 times now during a very short period of time. So a lot of good things are happening. The trade numbers are phenomenal. You saw that. Our economic numbers are unbelievable, like never, ever before. The investment into our country is at a number that nobody's ever even imagined. We are doing really well. I'll see you on the plane, okay?
Max Miller, can you comment on Representative Miller?
I hope he's able to work it out. I feel badly for him.
All right, so we saw the president there, of course, speaking with reporters last night as he was in LA for a few events, and then, of course, now in Vegas. And here's what we're going to do for the next few minutes. We're going to go to our interview with it's going to be interesting to say this, the former CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell. He caught up with us just a couple days ago, and he referred to this press release that was released today. So what we'll do is we'll go to that for just a little bit. Again, he only stepped down from MyPillow as he focuses on that 100% focus on the run for governor. Again, August 11th, the primary election. We'll see what happens there. So as we await the President of the United States in Vegas, we'll go to our interview with Mike. As soon as our team sees that the President is getting ready to go to the stage, of course, we'll be right back here to toss it out there to the Silver State. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell, right there, here live with us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
And thanks for having me on, man.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, let's talk about it right out of the gate. An update on the campaign. We know that August 11th is around the corner for you as you're running for governor in Minnesota. So can you share with us the latest there?
Well, ever since I got the president's endorsement, they've attacked me and attacked and attacked. A lot of it my own party. But what's that manifested to is if you go to the polls like Polymarket, it just keeps getting wider and wider. I think it's 74% on Polymarket. So once again, the people see through the attacks. I'm putting out my budget. Yeah, I believe it'll be 2, maybe 3 days. We've been working on it for 6 months. And are you ready for this? If everybody would follow this, if we get it initiated and put in, Minnesota could be the 10th state to be income tax free for the state income tax. There's 9 other states that have that. That's what I've been pushing for, and it's amazing. We have all the numbers. We've worked on, like I say, 6 months. So, and you see candidates brag, I'm going to lower your income tax. I'm saying I'm going to eliminate your income tax and then show you how we're going to do it. I think that's a lot different than someone just promising and you don't have the goods to back it up. So I'm very excited.
Exactly. And then to your point, 9 other states are already doing it. So you have the model of how it's supposed to work, and then you can implement that there in Minnesota. So you and your the lieutenant governor candidate, as you guys tour the state, as you guys go through your debates and all of that, what's the reception like for you, Mike? Are people showing up and being like, Mike, please win this thing. We don't want Klobuchar in there.
Yeah, exactly. And right now we're, this is the Republican primary. When I got the president endorsement, our own Minnesota GOP went against me. The chairman came out and said, we don't need Mike Lindell. He comes with baggage. He's been fighting election fraud. He's an election denier, all these things. And then you have other ones say, well, Mike, the other candidates, well, Mike, it's good Mike got the endorsement because, Donald Trump is not liked here in Minnesota. All these lies that have come out. But here's the reality. People in Minnesota, it's all about affordability. Minnesota is, I believe we're the 3rd worst in the nation now for affordability. We can't afford to live here. Everybody, not some, is saying, some, but most have said, Mike, this is our last chance. If you don't win, we're leaving. We can't afford to live here. And these are corporations too, businesses. We have, I believe it's the highest corporate tax in the nation. We have some of the highest income tax, sales tax, property tax. It's so unaffordable to live here. And a lot of this is because we're a welfare state. And that's not counting all the fraud, Matt, the fraud we have here. But I have real solutions to all of this, being a businessman. You're going to have a very big announcement all week long this week as we put out press releases, and one of them it concerns my pillow, and then also our budget and many things coming out. I think that it should be normally it would be the #1 story, but as you know, the Minnesota media, they try and suppress me or attack so we'll see if they actually come out. We're having our watch party next Tuesday. Of course, I can't even say where that's at because they'd probably go there now to attack.
No, it's smart. It's smart to do that. But, when I think of Minnesota, the outdoors, the great outdoors, I think of sports too, the Vikings too, the Minnesota Wild hockey team, the universities there. I mean, there's just a lot going on. So what is it about Minneapolis? Why is it that we always see these stories there? Is it just because that mayor there is awful and the governor's just awful, but the rest of Minnesota is great? I mean, I don't get.
Well, this is, Minnesota. There's many battles going on here. It's a battle of good and evil that we're in right now. And when I say that, I really mean it. You've got a governor that accepted a satanic statue at our Capitol and said we have to be fair to the devil. We just had a thing come out last week. You guys can look it up. It was $1.5 million allocated to this fall in our children aged 4 to 10 get these paper dolls that are you switch the genitals on them, and you guys check it out. It's disgusting. We're a state that we have 5 years ago. If I said ban Sharia law, it was called a racist. Now with all the fraud and I can say ban Sharia law, and it's really gotten. We have Muslims practicing Islam. It doesn't match our Constitution. I could go on and on and on. We had. So, but basically, you have a welfare state here where we're Minnesota nice, and it's manifested it's just like a free for all here. And we have over 24 welfare programs, over 400 NGOs, where not only the fraud, but are these programs working, and can you make them better to get a good return on your investment to really help people that need it? And so you'll see when my budget comes out, all these things are getting addressed. There was a big thing in the news. Mike Lindell wants amnesty. That's a lie. I've never wanted amnesty. I never will want amnesty. And this manifested from another problem we have in Minnesota, which is our illegals here, where our governor gave the illegals 54,000 of them ID cards, where it was supposed to say not a citizen, but he gave them these ID cards, and now they're driving on our roads and voting in our elections. This is terrible. And then we have employers in Minnesota. This is nationwide too, but our employers in Minnesota that are employing these illegals illegally. It's like human trafficking, bringing up these illegals, and they're avoiding the income tax in Minnesota and all kinds of tax of $1.5 billion to the taxpayers, and they're stealing jobs from our citizens up here that need these jobs. So what I'm going to be doing, at first I had said, we should get them in, fingerprint them, get them in the system. Well, that manifested to Mike wants amnesty. I'm trying to solve a problem here that I'm going to have as governor. And after all that pushback on these things, the easy solution there is you go after these employers, make it a jailable offense, take away their business license so they start employing our citizens rather than committing crimes against not only us taxpayers, but against all the citizens of Minnesota. So I'll be doing that. And people ask me about the illegals. That we have 1,400 illegals in Minnesota that are in there for felonies, and we've been housing them at the rate of $110 million a year. I will cooperate immediately with the administration. I come and get them. Get them out of here. It's so nonsensical. I brought this up the other day, and I had news outlets say, well, they should serve their time here, and then they go to their countries, because if they get to their countries, they release them. I said, no, they don't. We have deals with the country. They go to prison in their country. Why should we pay them to be in prison here? Go back to their countries. They never are coming back here. Let them sit in those prisons, which I guarantee you are a lot worse than Minnesota prisons, okay? And these people deserve this. So there's a lot of things going on. And but as you know, Matt, the media has attacked me for years and years and years now. And one of the blessings is I'm polling number one. And it's a lot because I think the people see through all the lies and all the attacks. I hate to say, it's very similar to our president. I'm looking at, I helped him in 2016 and 2020 and all those things. I'm going, the media attacking, in a weird way, it kind of helps, because the people are going, wow, they're attacking Mike. They obviously don't want Mike in there, or they wouldn't attack me.
Exactly. And we know how the mainstream media and other media outlets work out there. And, earlier in this broadcast, I was on with Silk on the phone, and she just goes for it, talking about 2020 as well. And I wanted to ask you quickly before we stop the interview here, is your thoughts about Fauci, the 111 times pleading the fifth, and then on top of that whole pandemic led us into the 2020 election fiasco of mail-in ballots. I mean, can you believe we're all sitting here now, years later, being like, wow, this all really happened in America?
Right. And it's I just look at it, everybody, as you look at it from an overall, now we can look back and you say, wow, this couldn't have been planned better by evil than how it was planned. You got the virus, and they put that out there, and then you have all this stuff they did with the elections. Do you know all the stuff that was put in illegal, everybody, like the votes in Michigan where they gave out all the ballots and illegally, and early voting all over the country? Those things needed to be voted in by the legislatures. Instead, the Secretary of States and governors just put them in illegally. And the only attorney general that went and fought that was Ken Paxton in Texas, and he won all 12 cases. Incidentally, only 13 states have went back to where it was before this. So they left all these illegal things in place. Our election platforms, this has been my biggest fight. Everybody knows it. It all comes down to that. They tried to, but I give everybody hope here is we broke through the biggest cover-up of the biggest potential crime the world has ever seen, and that's taking the United States without firing a shot. And it was our voice. It was our voice. RSBN had, you'd pull one piece out like you guys back then, and the voices we had, it didn't go out. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you have everybody's looking back and seeing this Fauci nonsense. And then you see, look at just the other day, Matt, when the president decertified all the election stuff with Smartmatic. The name Smartmatic was all over that, going back to Venezuela. Everything I said about China interfering, everything I've been saying for 5.5 years, I have a Smartmatic case right here in Minneapolis. And I will let this is first announced on your show to the country. We are going after Smartmatic now. It's kind of like my country. In light of the new evidence, here we come. Because they're guilty, guilty, guilty. And the media just put, when the president decertified that, they just go, oh, they're talking about what he said. No truths in there. No, they didn't bother and go look at what was decertified. But we're not going to let Smartmatic or any other companies do what they did or tried to do in these elections. We've got to get rid of the electronic voting machines once and for all, like 132 other countries. There's a reason they do that. So I'm really excited on all things that are going to be coming. But this Fauci thing, it's just people, don't let it be a deflection, everybody, that, because right now, if you look back, if they hadn't done all that, I look at all the blessings like the fraud in Minnesota, all the things that happened back then that they did to us in our country. If you didn't have that bad, we might have just...
And we watched that interview, of course, the other day. We're cutting into programming because we know that President Trump is about to take the stage, and I believe that the UFC CEO Dana White will be introing President Donald J. Trump. So we're hearing that this is happening right now. So obviously we cut back into coverage here. As I mentioned, as soon as our team starts to see things happening behind the scenes, we're ready for it here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, because any second from now, the president will deliver a speech in Las Vegas on the success of the working families tax cuts. So we're looking forward to tossing this out to the Silver State, Nevada, of course, the birthplace when it comes to, in Las Vegas, of the no tax on tips. And also then from there, no tax on overtime and no tax on all sorts of things. So it's great to see that happen here for the working families tax cuts. And as we are about to see, I believe it will be Dana White introing the president. So again, as soon as we see that, flip over to the live picture. We'll take you there. In the meantime, it's 5:07 Eastern Time. My name is Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for live streaming in, or maybe watching this on replay. Of course, it's always great to have you aboard with us here. Go to RSBN in the sense of on Truth Social. It's at RSBN if you'd like to follow. Also on X, it's at RSB Network. If you'd like to follow me on X, it's at Matthew US Media. And then on Truth Social, it's Matthew Alvarez. So thanks again for sticking with us here. And we've got a lot coming up, of course, throughout not only this month when it comes to various events that happen at the White House. Specifically, I actually just saw an email come through okay, this is something that's for planning purposes only, so we'll be covering a lot of stuff coming up. Anyway, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. In the meantime, being prepared is something Americans have always understood. We prepare our homes before a storm. We prepare our finances for the unexpected. So why wouldn't we prepare our medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are choosing All Family Pharmacy. They've made it easier than ever to find the prescription medications you need. Instead of searching only by medication name, you can now search by the medical condition itself. Whether you're dealing with a sinus infection, respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for these conditions. Everything is reviewed by licensed U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. Just complete that secure medical form. If appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide your prescription. Then your medication is shipped directly to your home. So go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and talk to a real person there, 561-717-6794. And don't forget that RSBN 10 promo code, as we are seconds away, I'm told. I just heard it right here in the old IFB. That's what we call them in the TV business. I heard it from the director. He said about 30 seconds. So what I do is I stretch until we see the president, and there he is.
Who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, and congratulations on getting in, because you got thousands of people outside, and you got lucky. Would anybody like to give up their location to somebody outside? No? Okay, I figured. I wouldn't do it either. But I want to thank the great, he really is one and only Dana White, and I want to say a big hello to Las Vegas. You know, Dana had the most successful fight in history the other night at the White House. We had the White House as a little backdrop, and there were some of the greatest fights anyone's ever seen. You saw Justin Gaethje. You saw some of those fights. Every one of them was incredible, but it was the thrill of the White House. It was the whole thing. It was just, I don't think it will ever be duplicated again. It was the most successful fight, they say, ever. Although I think Mike Tyson, he's here someplace, he had some pretty damn good ones. So I better be careful. He might have topped us once or twice, Iron Mike. But I'm thrilled to be back in the great state of Nevada, where thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots are just doing their thing. But before we begin, I want to send our love and heartfelt prayers to the family and loved ones of the brave, I hear he was an incredible young man, Las Vegas police officer, Austin, Abdel Nabi, a lot of you knew him, who was shot and killed in the line of duty yesterday afternoon. It was a big deal, a big story, and it should be a big story. And gunned down by a savage criminal at just 30 years old. And Austin died a hero, and he will never be forgotten, never going to be forgotten. So to every law enforcement officer here today, we thank you for your service. And We say God bless the men and women of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and, frankly, all of law enforcement. With the help of so many Nevada patriots here today, we have a lot of them. In 2024, we won the state in a landslide. It was a big, beautiful, well, no tax on tips didn't hurt, did it? Remember I said it, and by the way, I said it and I got it done. You know, a lot of people say it, they don't get it done. But I remember I said it, then about a month and a half, 2 months later, she came out and she said, that's Kamala, because by this time Biden was gone. He went bye-bye. And Kamala came out, she said, no tax on tips. What does that mean? She didn't know what it meant. And people cast her aside. They didn't believe it. She was a little late. She was a little bit late. But right now, it's one of the best things. I mean, it's one of the greatest things. People are making a lot of money, no tax on tips, and it's great. And the best thing, and the thing I'm most proud of, because a lot of people would say it's a little bit, tends to be a Democrat state, but not when I'm running, because we had more votes than any candidate in the history of Nevada. Actually, by far. By far. So every day since, I've been fighting for the people of Nevada like no president has ever fought before, and the people of our country. When we took office, we inherited a total catastrophe. Biden and the radical left, Democrats, I call them Democrats because their policies are so dumb. You exchange the E with a U, and nobody knows that dumb doesn't have a B. Democrats. I can't imagine I didn't think about that 10 years ago when I started this whole situation. But the Democrats created the worst inflation in 48 years. They had the worst inflation. I inherited those high prices, just so you understand. I inherited them. Wide open borders with millions of people pouring in from all over the globe, from drug dealers and people in prison. They opened up their prisons from all over the world, including from the world's worst prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. We had transgender for everybody. We had men playing in women's sports. How's that one? We had a big win on that, as you know, in the Supreme Court. Crime was ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us. But they're not laughing anymore. They're not laughing anymore. They don't laugh. They don't laugh anymore. We had a president that nobody respected. Nobody thought anything about him. Everybody took advantage of him. Everybody took advantage of him. It was sad, actually, including his own family took advantage of him. But America's respected again like we have never been respected before. We've never been respected at this level before. And less than 2 years ago, and you've heard this said, this was said by the king of Saudi Arabia, he told me, a year ago. That time the dates were a little different, but the statement was the same. He said, President, a year ago, your country was dead. It was a dead country. We never thought it was coming back. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. The hottest country. And I'm not getting credit from the fake news for what I've done. I never have gotten credit. I don't get credit. Dana, I don't get any credit for anything. Everything I do, even prescription drug prices, where they're down 400, 500, 600, think of it, 600%. Favored nations. We had the highest prices in the world, and now we have the lowest prices. The press won't write about it. They don't give me any credit. But look at the bright side. I'm president, so you gave me credit. Right? You get it. Like, you know, you had a big election last night, and a lot of people running, and I endorsed a lot of candidates. And the end result, I was 28 wins and 1 loss. Who was a little bit of a person that I thought was a good person. Didn't have much of a chance, but I said, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. Good person. Very good. very respected, but nobody knew who the person was. But it was 28-1 last night on endorsements, and numerous of them were outliers. You know, an outlier is a person that doesn't have a chance. But if you studied the fake news today, you'd think that it was just the opposite. It was like 1 in 28. No, it was 28-1 last night. And I have to be truthful, because if I'm not truthful, look at all the press. They have a lot of press here. Well, this is all on live television. Every word, if you make one little mistake, one little exaggeration, they go after you with... Now, when Biden made mistakes, that's all he did, is make mistakes. Nobody ever went after him. But all they talked about was the one, and that's why they call them the fake news. You know, it's just pretty bad. But they really do want to, you take a look at the facts. They don't want to see, they don't want to have you see the facts, because what we've done is really amazing. We will really put it all together like you've never seen, and that's what we've been doing. We put it together at levels that have never been seen in this country before. Just yesterday it was announced that American exports are totally on fire in a positive way. This is a positive fire, not a negative. Sometimes you say, oh, that's too bad, you know. They'll say, that's too bad, it's on fire. It's on fire in a very positive way, and they've skyrocketed exports to the highest level in American history. Think of that, exports. Think of that. Think of what that means. Exports have gone to the highest level in history. That means somebody's doing a good job, because we didn't have good exports. 2 years ago, we didn't have anything like that. We were dead. The United States is on track to export unprecedented $2.5 trillion in goods this year alone, something everyone thought was impossible. Just a number like that was not even thinkable. If I ever said it, I wouldn't have even said it, because even I didn't think we could do that well, but we did. And I want to thank all of the policies and all of the things we put it together between the tariffs that have been so, the tariffs have made us rich. Remember, I used to say that tariffs are my favorite word. I love tariffs. They're my favorite word in the dictionary, tariff. I love tariffs, right? Because we've been screwed by tariffs used against us for years by China, by Japan, by South Korea, by Germany, by everybody, by Canada. Canada's nasty. They are. They're nasty. People think Canada, they're nasty. People, I love the people, but they're nasty. Nasty leadership. And Mexico, they all did it to us. But now that doesn't work anymore, because we turned the table on everybody, and that's why you're seeing numbers like you've never seen before. This week, as an example, it was announced that manufacturing is exploding at the fastest pace in many years. Nobody thought this would ever happen again. Do you remember, did you ever hear of a man named Barack Hussein Obama? He said, we will never be a manufacturing country again. And he meant it. He meant it. It was pathetic what had happened. Our businesses were stolen by foreign countries. They're all coming back. They're coming roaring back. More automobile factories are being built in the United States right now than at any time in the history of our country. Think of that. We didn't have a plant built for years, and now we have more plants. They're all coming back from Germany, from South Korea, from Japan, from Canada, and from Mexico, from all over. They're coming back, because if they don't, they have to pay massive tariffs at the gate. I call them tariffs at the gate. But it is true, I was criticized very badly because I said it was my favorite word. They said, what about God? What about wife, family? What about all of the things that make your life so wonderful? So I moved it to my fifth favorite word, and now, no, the press was, the press was killing me. I'll never forget, I said, tariff's my favorite word, I love it, I got killed. But now I say it's number 5, and I'm in good shape, but it's made us rich. It's made us rich. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. More importantly, in order to not pay the tariff, all these companies are moving in and building their plants, a lot of them being built in Nevada, a lot of them. And that man right there, Mr. Wall, please stand up. Look at him. He's a rich guy. Could you believe? You know what? He's a rich guy because he must have been to 300 rallies, I think more than that. He's loaded. You had him checked out, a little bit shaky there. I'm saying, what's with that guy with the Wall outfit? I'm going to get one of their, I'm going to wear it one time, I'm telling you. And they checked him out. They said, sir, he's a very rich man. He has to be. He goes to so many rallies. And we do love you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. And our great front row Joes and our great women from North Carolina, they travel all over the place. They're loaded. They're beautiful. I don't know what the hell's going on with their home life, but they travel. They've gone to hundreds of these. But here in Nevada, we've created over 40,000 new jobs and lifted nearly 100,000 Nevadans off of food stamps. Think of it. And they don't want to be on food stamps because they've got new jobs. They've got jobs. They don't need food stamps. Last month, inflation dropped at the fastest rate it's dropped in many years, and more Americans are working today. So the biggest thing for this whole thing, more Americans are working in the United States right now than at any point in the history of our country. Think of that. Think of it. You don't hear that. I saw polls today on television. I say, Donald Trump polls on the economy aren't good. The economy is the greatest economy we've ever had by far. The economy aren't good. They're fake polls, just like fake writers. But think of it. And his stance on immigration. Immigration. In 30 days, I stopped millions and millions of people from invading our country. Think of it. Our country was being invaded. 25 million people poured through our southern border, and they came from jails, and they were drug dealers, and they were people from mental institutions. They were mental institutions all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They opened their doors, they brought them into the southern border, and they released them into our country. We're getting them all out. They're all getting out very fast. They're all getting out very fast. But think of it. Nobody ever thought a thing like this could happen. And in the last 15 months, and these are reports, and you've heard me say this before, it's 14, it's 13, it's 12, depending, but now it's 15 months, right? Not one person has been allowed to come into our country illegally. And that's been done by the Democrats who do the reports. I'm sure they're happy with it. Can't have a country without a border. Can't have a country without a border. And you can't have a country without free and fair elections, too. So we want voter ID, and we want proof of citizenship. But we're rocking, we're rolling. This country is great. What's happening to this country is great. And, ultimately, they're not going to be able to stop this because what's happening is too good. But think of that. I got criticized on immigration. When I took over, millions of people were pouring into our country. Millions. And they weren't necessarily, I don't want to say it, but they weren't necessarily the people you want, because they did. They came from jails from all over the world. They came from all of these different places. Drug dealers, 11,888 murders, 50%, more than 50% of whom created or killed more than 2 people. So think of this. So you had 11,880. That's the number of murderers that came in, according to every statistic. And we checked the charts. 11,888 murderers. Many of these people killed more than 1 or 2 people. And do you think they're going to be great citizens or not? They came in totally unchecked, totally unvetted, and our country was a mess. Our country was going down, and now our country is it's strong again, and it's respected again. And the stock market has set 74 all-time highs just since our short time that we've been back. You know, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country in my first term. You know that. This is going to blow it away. It already is, I think, but this is blowing it away. 74, the highest stock markets in history. Yesterday went up almost 1,000 points, right? And the typical American 401k is up much more than $30,000 and setting records day after day, week after week. And more money is being invested right now in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. Money is pouring into it. They want to invest in the United States. Before, they wanted to de-invest. They want their money out. That's what was happening. People were taking their money out. Now they're all putting it in. They love the safety of this country as run properly by us. And it's not me, it's us, because you're the people that built the country, believe me. In 4 long years of sleepy Joe Biden and the very corrupt, and it was the most corrupt administration, they got less than $1 trillion of new investment in our country. So think of this. 4 years, not 1 year, 4 years, less than $1 trillion invested. And it was going down. They would have had de-investment, it's called. In 1 year, so he had 4 years, less than one. In 1 year, my administration secured commitments of more than $19.2 trillion in new investment from all over the globe. And that's a record that's 5 times greater than any country in history. Think of that. You know, the sad part is, I say this to Dana because he understands, I say it to Fertitta, the brothers, they're smart too. What a beautiful families. Are they loaded? They're loaded. They own this hotel, you know. They own this beautiful hotel, which I'm sure is doing well because everything they have does well. And a guy like Phil Ruffin's here, one of the greatest gamblers in the world, but also one of the greatest businessmen in the world. He made a fortune here, but he made a fortune every place he goes. He just makes money. I don't know. He's a money machine. The great Phil Ruffin. And Alexandra, his much more incredible wife. I'm more impressed by her. But Phil has made a fortune no matter where he went. Everything he touches turns to gold. He's incredible. We have incredible people here. But right here in Nevada, General Motors and lithium, Americans are investing up to $1.6 billion to build the Thacker Pass mine. Many people in this audience are going to be working there, and you are working there. And Forge Industries and others are investing $150 million in manufacturing facilities in North Las Vegas. And we have, in just this small area, you have your governor here today, in just this small, who's running, and will you please win by a big number? Where's our governor? Where's our governor? He's doing a great job. You got to get him. He's in a re-election. I can't believe time flies so fast, Governor. Huh? Very importantly for the people of the state, with the help of our Republican majorities in Congress, last year I signed the great, big, beautiful bill giving you the largest tax cuts in American history. You got no tax on tips that Dana was talking about. So if you're a waiter, a waitress, a bartender, a bellhop, a caddy, I love caddies, a valet, a hotel worker, taxi driver in Las Vegas or anywhere else, anywhere, you pay 0 taxes on your tipped income. You know, I was having dinner with a group of people, including Ruffin, and we were talking, a lot of people, smart people, and beautiful waitress came over. I'm not allowed to say that today, but I'll say it anyway. She was beautiful. What can I say? She was beautiful. In my place, steak, good steak, by the way. So we're eating, and this beautiful young lady walks over, and I said, how you doing? Everything good? Sir, they're taxing me to death. I said, really? What are they taxing? They're taxing my tips. Sir, they should have no tax on tips. I said, say it again. Say those words again. So they should have no tax on tips. I said, boy, that got me. I think that, Governor, I think that might have got me this massive victory that we had in this state. And I went out, and we had those people. See all those people back there, the fake news? And in the middle of my meal, I gathered them together right outside the door of the steakhouse. And I said, are you ready to go? Yes, sir, we're ready. The cameras. We will have no tax on tips. And it became an overnight sensation. That's how it happened, actually. That's how she was my consultant. She did a better job than, you hire these people, you pay them millions of dollars, they don't come up with crap. Takes a waitress from Las Vegas to give us some good ideas. And then we also gave you something that some of you are, especially if you're in the construction stuff, that I love. No tax on overtime. Last week, I'm building this big military complex, including a lot of different things, and some of the things I can't even talk about, although it's become very public, because like usual, everything I do, they get sued, but I win the suits. I think I've been sued more times than any human being in history. But it's unbelievable what's happening. It's a tremendous military complex. And for 150 years at the White House, we don't have a ballroom. We don't have a big space. You can seat like 80, 90 people. So we're building a ballroom that everybody's going to be the most beautiful ballroom. I don't care, Fertitta, what your ballroom is. Is this your ballroom? I'm telling you, Fertitta, that's going to be nice, sir. Much nice. But this is very nice. I want to be nice. But I'm building they wanted it for 150 years. And I was out, and they're really moving along. We're ahead of schedule. And it was a Sunday morning. They should be in church, so I don't want to get them in trouble. But there were a lot of men working on Sunday. There were a lot of men working late into the night. They work until 12 in the evening. They go till 12 in the evening. And this one morning, I went over and gathered a group of about 150 people, guys, some women, good workers, great people. And I said, you got to love me because you're making all this overtime working on Saturdays and Sundays and late. And there's no tax on overtime. Did everybody vote for me? And they all said, yeah, I voted. No, you know what that is? A lot of people, the tax on overtime was so great they didn't even want to do it. Now they love doing it. There's a lot of work going on overtime. No tax on overtime. And then you maybe have the granddaddy of them all. No tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Right? And we made interest on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car's made in America. That's, people that are, let's call it middle income, successful, but they never had, like Fertitta, they never had the advantage, or Phil Ruffin, they never had the advantage of a thing called deductions, right? A lot of rich people live on the word deduction. They've never had it. We give, so you buy a car, you borrow money, and you're now allowed to deduct for income tax purposes. You're allowed to deduct the interest that you're paying on the loan. Nobody ever thought it. That was my baby. But only if the car's made here. If the car's made outside, we don't care about it. Yeah, we don't care. We don't want you to buy cars not made in it. We want to be made in America. Beautiful term. It's back. It's back. This past filing season, 440,000 tipped workers right here in Nevada saved an average of $10,000 on their taxes. Think of that. Just on the no tax on tips. So that means every worker saved, this is put out by the government, check it out. I always say that because they always try and get me. They say, oh, it wasn't 10,000. It was 9,912. Think of it, every worker made $10,000 more money. That's all because of the fact that I said I was going to do it, and I got it done. We got it done. The Republican Party got it done. And the Democrats will terminate it if they ever take office. They will terminate that. They were able to do that. We can't let that happen. 150,000 Nevada workers saved an average of more than $3,000 thanks to the no tax on overtime. So that's 10,000, 3,000. And 500,000 Nevada seniors, I didn't know you had that many seniors here, paid $0 on their Social Security benefits thanks to no tax on Social Security. It's a lot of money. But while the Trump administration and our allies in Congress, the Republican Party, they've done a great job. That bill is the greatest bill. I think it's one of the most impactful bills ever. You know, and it was supposed to be 17 different bills. And they said, I don't think we can, these are lunatics we're dealing with, the Democrats. I said, I don't think we'll ever get that many. Let's put everything into one. That's how we call it. It's actually called the one big, but I call it the great big, because I like that term better. I named it the one big, and then I said, why didn't I call it the great big? But I use it all the time, great big. But that was all in the great big, beautiful bill. Governor, nobody thought we were going to get that passed. Everything was put in there for 4 years. I mean, it's basically, and now we're asking for more, because, you know, we're greedy. Now we're asking for a lot of other things. A lot of other things are in the hopper. A lot of other good things, not bad things, good things for you. But in Congress, we're working every day to defend the American dream for you and your children. The radical left, the maniacs, they're trying to destroy it with the disaster known as not socialism, communism. It's communism. These are communists. And the polls were wrong again last night when they thought it would be a landslide victory for a hater of Jews and a hater of Israel. This guy hates Jews. Somebody said, oh, that's a little strong. No, he hates Jews and he hates Israel. Abdul el-Sayed. Can you believe this? This could only happen to me. Abdul el-Sayed, lovely gentleman. He's a man of hate. And now he's going around saying, no, I love everybody. He doesn't love everybody. Put him in office. You're going to find out what he loves. He doesn't love Israel. He doesn't love Jewish people. He hates them. He hates them with a passion that burns in his heart, and there's not a frickin' thing he can do about it. There's not a thing he can do about it because he hates them. And in Michigan, it was really very close. There's press, you know, the polls and the polls by the press. Oftentimes, the press hires the polls. They want to have it a certain way, but the polls got it really wrong because it was supposed to be a blowaway. And he almost lost. But he's going to lose to our great candidate. We have a great candidate in Michigan. Great candidate. But the socialist candidate ran up big margins against the communist candidate in Detroit. And I was saying that probably it's corrupt. You know, it's probably corrupt. I don't know who the hell they wanted. I couldn't care less. We do better. Actually, we do better against the communists, according to every poll. The poll says we do better against the communists. So he won, and so I think I'm happy. I put out a statement. Congratulations to the Republican Party. The communists want to take their ruinous and deadly ideology of misery and squalor to every state in America, but we're not going to let them. And I will say this, one of the things that I have seen with communism throughout the world, I see a lot of different places being president. I see a lot of results, too, a lot of bad results when you have the wrong people and the wrong ideology. But one of the things I see, and you see it here in the blue states run by Democrats, everything's filthy dirty all the time. The cities stink, they smell, the sidewalks are loaded with horrible stuff. I don't want to use the term because my wife will get she hates it when I use the term. I use it, but she doesn't love it. She hates it when I imitate no men and women's sports. She hates it when I do the weightlifting. She said, it's not presidential. I said, well, it may not be presidential, but I won the election in a landslide, so I don't know. Right? We won it. Good. Well, she's very elegant, you know. Melania says hello to everybody, by the way. But she's very, very elegant. She did a movie. I think it's the #1 movie of the year. Can you believe it? But she's very elegant. She hates, as an example, at the end, we're finished. There's a lot of love in the room. Look, what's not to be loved? We have great borders. Our military is the greatest in the world, the strongest. We inherited a terrible mess. I inherited a mess from Obama, and I inherited, frankly, I rebuilt the military. But a lot of our military was badly jeopardized by Sleepy Joe Biden. I mean, they gave everything. They gave so much away. $350 billion, I would say, is a lot of money. Even for Dana White, that's a lot of money, you know? Gave away 350. I sell everything. They were willing to pay. It's the Europeans. They have plenty of money. They don't have a good military because they've relied on us too long. They can't. I told them you can't do that, NATO. But their military said, we will send you things, but you got to pay for them. They said, okay. Now, Biden could have said the same thing. He gave everything for free, and it really messed things up. But fortunately, we have it so strong, and we've been building like never before. And it's all made in America. You know, it's all made. A lot of it's made right here. But on the communists, just listen to the official platform of the deranged communists. And these are the people running, and they're trying to run as a big danger to our country, whose agenda is now being championed by the Democrat members of the United States Congress. They have officially endorsed defunding the police, defunding the United States military, abolishing and giving up prisons. They do not want prisons, because nobody deserves to be in prison, even a person that's killed 10 people. Abolishing ICE. They don't want ICE. ICE are among our greatest patriots. Remember that. And these guys, what they do, when they have to get Tren de Aragua from Venezuela. But now I love Venezuela. You know, I love it. We're doing great at Venezuela. We're taking a lot of oil from Venezuela, and we're getting along great with them. Billions and billions of barrels of oil is coming out of Venezuela. It's one of the most fertile places for oil in the world. And as you know, it was a 48-minute war, lasted 48 minutes. And we paid for the war with what we've taken out many, many, many times. Where have you heard that before? You haven't heard that before. It's the old-fashioned way, right? It's the old-fashioned way. To the victor belong the spoils, right? And we're doing the same thing, by the way, in the lovely Islamic Republic of Iran. We're knocking the hell out of it. Knocking the hell out of it. I'd rather make a deal, because I don't want to kill people. I do not want to kill people. But at some point, we were set for the biggest attack of any attack, and we've hit them very hard for the last few months. But we were all set for the biggest attack since World War II. And they called me, and they said, please don't do it, let's talk. And then they said, we never said that. You know what? The fake news knows they did say that. But we are talking, let's see what happens. But they respect us. They respect us. It's been 47 years, but really it's been 50 years, because they've been saying 47 for 3 years. It's been 50 years. And no other president has done what you should have done a long time ago, because Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Can't have it. But just last week, Kamala Harris called for eliminating the Electoral College. And she said she wants to pack the Supreme Court, and the number is 23 justices. We have 9. She wants Marxist judges who all stick together. You know, the Republican judges or justices don't stick together. They don't stick together. But these 3 people that they have, they're like glue. They never veer. And in many ways, I respect that. I must tell you, they're horrible for our country. It's too bad they're on. A couple of them just don't belong. I'd like to fire them. I'd fire them if I could. I'm just responding for the meeting. I'm just responding to them. They'll say, Trump wants to fire the judges. That'll be the... No, I'm just responding. I'm just responding. The man said, fire them, sir, fire them. The communist platform also calls for legalizing heroin and fentanyl. And by the way, we have no fentanyl coming in by sea anymore, practically. None. Almost none. 97% down. Think of it. Coming by sea, They come by sea. They said, oh, this is so lovely out. They have their little boat loaded up with fentanyl, enough to kill 25,000 people a boat. That's what you have. Ruined families. So you don't feel as bad when you do what we did. But we hit them very hard. And we cut it. It was, you know, for years, people would go out. They'd have the Coast Guard, our great Coast Guard, go out, pull them over, bring them to court. The judge would look at them, let them go. They'd give them a little fine. They'd go back. They'd be on a boat the next day, the next night, doing the same thing. We hit them. That's it. We're down 97.2%. 97.2. Actually, people are trying to find out who are the 3%, because they are the bravest human beings on earth, okay? Maybe they just don't watch television or read the newspapers. You're braver. Thank you very much. Thank you. But the radical left wants to ban a thing called gasoline. Gasoline. We have 1,000 years of gasoline, and it's what people prefer. And, you know, I ended the electric mandate. I don't want to talk about it because Elon wasn't exactly thrilled with me, but I had to do it. We love Elon. But I ended because it said that within a very short period of time, like 2030, everybody had to have an electric car, even though there was no way you could charge it. You ever see the signs, you're driving along in an electric car? They have a disease, you know, it's a disease. It's called, like, they get screwed up, they're driving, and they realize their battery's getting low, and they start thinking about it when it's 3/4 full. Okay, it loses a little bit. It said, where am I going to? And you're driving down the highway, and you'll see a sign, electric charging station with an arrow, 89 miles to the right. These people are crazy. And I like electric cars. You know, we sell 7% of our cars, despite all of the taxes and all of the things that we gave away, 7%. But the thing is, we have unlimited, we have more gasoline, but we have more oil and gas than any country in the world. Now you add Venezuela to it, add that, and we have 60% of the world's oil and gas, including Venezuela. Think of that. What a great thing. By the way, we have a great relationship, I want to tell you, with Venezuela. They've been great. But the Communist platform calls for full amnesty and voting rights for 25 to 50 million illegal aliens. That's probably why they allowed them in, because they want them to vote. And actually, I won the Hispanic vote. Can you believe it? I won the Hispanic vote. So they may have misplayed that. They support allowing American military service members to be arrested, given show trials, and imprisoned by foreign globalist tribunals controlled by our enemies. They allow our soldiers to be arrested and tried in a foreign land and put in jail for the rest of that soldier's life. Doesn't happen anymore. And in Wisconsin, the communists even have a woman who said that the holiday of Thanksgiving should be immediately abolished, and the police only exist to, quote, uphold white supremacy, that the police are there for white person. Think of it, white supremacy. These people are dangerous, and frankly, they're lunatics, they're crazy, and we can't let them get into office. Communism is the greatest threat to our country in its history, including even World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, 9/11. I think it's the greatest threat. I could be the greatest communist in history. I tell everybody here, would you like a free house? We'll take one from your neighbor. Would you like free rent? We'll take it from whoever. We'll take your building away from the landlord that makes 2%, and we'll run the building ourselves. What they don't say, and what Republicans should say, is that at the end of a year, you'll have nothing but death, squalor, poverty. You'll have a life of hell. And that's what happens every single time. You look at Venezuela, where it was such a rich country 20 years ago, 22 years ago, and it happened, and we've really helped them, and we're going to help them. But, you know, they're lucky because they're sitting on massive oil reserves, but we are going to help the people that we want to help. But every time this has happened, and you do that, you go through squalor, and add the word again, filth, crime, death, destruction, embarrassment. You lose your home, you lose your apartment, and that's where the communists will take us 100%. When I watch Abdul, he's full of shit. So, if you remember, during my State of the Union speech from a little while ago, I made a very strong statement. I said that America will never be a socialist country. And I was right. What I didn't say is what they're trying to do, they want to skip socialism. They want to go right down to the bottom of the barrel. That's communism. They want it to be a communist country. We're not letting them have it as a communist country, not even for a minute. Not even for a minute. Together we will defeat communism, socialism, and Marxism in America once and for all. It's defeated. It's going to go down. It always goes down, but sometimes it takes a lot of people with it. It takes too long. You got to nip it in the bud. The Democrat communists in Congress claim to stand for working people, but every single one voted against our tax cuts. They voted against securing the border. They wanted open borders. The Democrats voted against securing the border. They want to raise your taxes to levels that you've never had to pay before. Remember this. They want to raise your taxes. You know, all my life I've been watching politics, and I never knew I'd be doing this. Who the hell ever thought I'd be doing it? But all my life I've been watching, and every politician, Democrat, Republican, they always said, we will cut your taxes, even if they didn't have any intention of doing it. They always say it. You know, I said, that guy is lying. He's not telling the truth. But I'd watch, we will cut your tax. These guys say we will raise your tax. They say we're going to raise your taxes. I never heard of anything. And then they actually get votes. The whole thing is crazy. But they voted against no tax on tips. They voted against no tax on overtime. They voted against no tax on Social Security. But when I say voted against, 100%. There wasn't one Democrat that voted in favor of these incredible things like voter ID and proof of citizenship. They voted against that, even though the actual Democrats, think of it, the Democrats want it. You know who doesn't want it? The politicians, because they'll never get elected again. If you had fair and strong elections, they would lose 25% of their base. They would never be elected again. And I'm trying to explain that to Republicans, but some of them don't quite understand it. They don't understand it because they're good people. They're good people. They don't know how crooked these people are. I've dealt with a lot of crooked people in my life. They don't know how bad these people are. We got to get the Republicans to be tougher, especially in the Senate, especially in our Senate. Got to get the senators in there. They got to be tough. But they voted in favor of the transgender mutilization of your children. And they voted in favor of men and women's sports. Can you imagine? But while the Democrat communists are voting to destroy America, we're making our country safer, stronger, far more successful than it has ever been before. It's more successful than it's ever been before. One of the most important parts of our great, big, beautiful bill is the Trump accounts, giving every child a tax-free investment. It's an account, and it's really giving them a head start on the American dream, and it's become overwhelmingly close to 8 million people have already been signed up. Every newborn baby gets $1,000 deposited in their Trump account at birth. That's right out of the
federal government, $1,000, you baby, $1,000. And generous individuals like Michael and Susan Dell Computer, go out and buy a Dell computer. Brad Gerstner, Micron, Apple, so many companies. They go out there spending billions and billions of dollars. Michael and Susan put up $6,250 million. And now he wants to do it again. He says it's the greatest thing he's ever done. It's great. And others. We have a man, he's taken over the state, all the children. He's putting in the state of Indiana, great state, putting $1,000 into all of these young children. Think of it. A child, in many cases, they're born into pretty close to poverty, or they're poor, they don't have money. They start off with $1,000, and it's going to duplicate, and they can end up with $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 if the market, what, like for the last year of the market, you'd end up with $1 million. But let's not count on that, because other people will take my place and they'll screw it up 100%. But think of what you're doing for those children, you know, that have no money at all at 18, and now they'll have hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a great thing and very popular. And that's all because of the great, big, beautiful bill. We had to get that approved. And again, not one Democrat, the only way we could do it, we had to get a unified Republican Party, because we didn't get one Democrat vote for the great, big, beautiful bill where these children are given $1,000 at birth. We couldn't get them to vote. You know why? Because they thought it was a great idea. They wish they thought of it. You know why? Because they have Trump derangement syndrome, that's why. Because they're sick. There's something wrong with them. Remember at the State of the Union when I was saying, you know, introducing a great war hero, 104 years old, he fought in World War II and this, and they sat like they never moved. I introduced the helicopter pilot who was so brave he had his leg practically shot off in Venezuela, landing the troops in Venezuela, big Chinook helicopter, loaded up with many, many troops. I'm not supposed to say how many, but a lot. And it had to land in a certain spot, or the whole thing could have been a Jimmy Carter disaster. You remember that? We don't want Jimmy Carter disasters. We don't have that. And he's landing, this good, handsome guy. You saw him, got the Congressional Medal of Honor. We gave it to him. But remember, I introduced him, told him how brave he was. His leg was practically shot off because it was shot from underneath a machine gun, from right underneath the helicopter. It was very close to the ground, and he kept it going. And they ended up getting this. He turned it, and the snipers got him. Oh, the whole thing was crazy. But that they can do this is incredible. So I'm presenting him with he saved all those lives and made this attack. We went in and got Maduro. Within 30 minutes, the whole thing was over. It was in a military base with thousands of soldiers. 219 guys went in, and a few women, by the way, tough. They're tougher than any of the men sitting in the front row, and I know those men. They went in, and they got him. They got Maduro. They got his wife, because she was as bad as him, and they took him out, and he was protected by steel doors. This is the middle of a military base. This was all steel. What they did is incredible. So I'm introducing him for the Congressional Medal of Honor, and the Republicans and everybody else in the room stands up, and they're going wild. Just a very brave guy. No, they say people that fly helicopters, because you fly them with your feet, more or less. And here's a guy with a leg that's practically falling off. And so I'm introducing him, and the Republicans go on. The Democrats, remember, just sat like this. Remember? But something happened, because they were getting killed. Every person I introduced was the same. The mother of the young girl from North Carolina who had her throat slit from the back by an animal because the governor allowed that guy to be free. The governor, who's now running for the Senate, that man should not be able to be elected. Vote for Michael Watley, by the way, he's great. The governor allowed that animal, and he cut her from behind, cut her neck like nothing. She was almost dead immediately. It's on tape. It's on tape, and the thing takes forever to try. Can you imagine? Here it is on tape. They'll probably find a good reason to get some nice liberal lawyer to say he was badly abused. He should go free, you know. But think of it. Think of it. Think of how sick these people are to let a guy like that out, and they shouldn't allow that governor. You know, that was worse than Willie Horton. You remember Willie Horton? This was Willie Horton, modern day. And that guy, that governor, shouldn't be allowed to run for governor because crime in North Carolina under him went through the roof, and he shouldn't be allowed. Michael Watley should be your governor. But we're pleased to be joined today by two loving parents, Sandra and Brad, from right here in Las Vegas, two great people. Sandra's a waitress in a nearby casino. Maybe we'll get her a job over here. And Brad is a hard-working Las Vegas metropolitan police officer. And together they save thousands of dollars thanks to no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. And they're investing their money into Sandra's education and Trump accounts, where they just bought Trump accounts for their two young children. So Sandra and Brad, please come up, wherever you may be. Please come up. Come on up. Don't worry about Secret Service. Come on up. That's great. That's a beautiful family. Oh, great. Please say so. Thank you. It's my honor.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you. It's truly an honor. It's truly an honor to stand here before you and speak. Sorry, excuse me. I have a little mom brain going on right now. I'm so sorry. No, he's going to take off. Thank you. Thank you. Truly, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be here today. Thank you so much for all that you've done enacting these policies that help our family and the families of millions of hardworking Americans. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've worked in the service industry for 15 years. When I first moved here to this beautiful city of Las Vegas, I had 3 jobs working for tips. Working for tips has been my livelihood, and policies like these are truly incredible. Yes, thank you, sir. Every dollar saved truly helps, Mr. President, thank you. And it all goes to them. You know, they're truly my why, my kids. Every dollar counts with children, and we're so grateful for the ability to open the Trump accounts for ours. We're gifted the very generous contribution, the $1,000, and able to start the same for my son. And he did want to say a little something to you, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Go ahead, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for my Trump account.
Thank you for my Trump account.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing, Mr. President. Thank you. It's truly an honor.
You did a good job.
Thank you so much.
And you did.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Be careful.
Thank you.
Bye, honey. Take care of Mom. Take care of Mom, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's so nice. Also with us is a foreman with the Teamsters Local 631, Curtis King. Curtis works 96 hours a week and earns 65% of his income from overtime. When he filed taxes this year, he expected that he'd owe over $11,000 instead of going back, and he didn't know what to do. And Curtis, why don't you come up and tell your story real quickly, if you could. Come on up here, Curtis. I love the Teamsters. Come on up here, Curtis.
To the unions, we don't all get tips, no. But we do work long hours, hard hours. 96 hours a week? Yeah, most of the times I'm not up on current affairs. I don't have a clue what's going on the planet. But I can tell you what's going on in Las Vegas. I can tell you where the shows are. I can tell you we fill the beds in this city. And we love every minute of it. And I thank you for allowing us to keep this money that we worked so hard for. Yeah, I just gone through a divorce and given up everything, but the fact that I got so much back on my taxes, I still was able to buy a new house. Put her in one, too. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Curtis. Now, we're also pleased to be joined by many Nevada patriots, including your Governor, Joe Lombardo. He's done a good job. Joe, come up real fast. Come on up here, Joe. Come on up, Joe.
Well, you get to see me twice in one day. So, you know what? I just want to build on what the president has been opining about here in the last 4 hours. He cares about America, right? You know, quite often when the press and the media runs him down, they think about, you know, he's taking care of his billionaire friends. But those billionaire friends provide jobs. And unless you take care of them, those jobs are absent. And the government doesn't have the ability to hand out infinite amounts of money. That's not how economies work. That's why they're pushing socialism so hard. But President Trump has changed that whole mindset, and America is that much greater because of his efforts. And it's not lost on me, no tax on tips benefits more people in the state of Nevada than anywhere else in the United States. So when people talk to me about Donald Trump, I'm proud to say he loves Nevada. And you love him too, right? There you go. So I'm going to leave you with this. Remember what I said on my way out earlier. Get out to vote. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Joe. And thanks to all of the true warriors. And I tell you, we have some great people. Adriana Guzman Freilich, your candidate for Attorney General, is doing fantastically well. Thank you, Adriana. A very special man. I wish you'd get him in office because he's incredible. I've known him so long, and he's got to get in. He just has to. He had a big victory, just a really big victory with spending very little money because everyone respects him. Jim Marchant, he's a candidate for Secretary of State. David Flippo, candidate for Congress, who's doing really well. Thank you, David. Marty O'Donnell, candidate for Congress, who I hear is doing incredibly. Thank you. Thank you, Marty. Good job. State Senator Carrie Buck, candidate for Congress. Thank you, Carrie. And let me also recognize the CEO and chairman of Red Rock Resorts, Frank Fertitta, and his brother, Lorenzo. They are amazing. And their families are incredible. Beautiful family. Perfect. They have perfect everything. They have beautiful families, I can tell you. And my really good friend, who I mentioned before, Phil Ruffin, and his incredible wife, Alexandra. Please stand up, Phil. And a handsome actor named Dean Cain, who's been with us from the beginning. Right from the beginning, Dean. Thank you, Dean. And a Las Vegas icon, and he's a big television sensation. His show went on, it did great. Rick Harrison. Rick, thank you. Been a long time, too. And a friend of mine, and he was with me in good times and bad times, and I've been with him in good times and bad times, but he's a fantastic person. I actually went to his Broadway show, and everybody smiled at him doing a Broadway show, and he was actually fantastic. I've seen a lot of Broadway shows, and he was fantastic. The legendary Mike Tyson. Thank you, Mike. Beautiful wife, great couple. Thank you, Mike. Thank you both for being here. Under the Trump administration, Nevada is prospering. Again, you're prospering like you haven't done in many, many years. And America is winning again because we're once again putting America first. It's very simple. We're putting our country first. Every single day, we're liberating our communities from the scourge of migrant crime. You saw what happened last week in Spain, where 60,000 migrants stampeded against the border, invaded and occupied the town, attacked innocent citizens, and rioted in the streets. And that's what communists want for America. That's what they were doing to us. Frankly, as bad as that looked, and it looked bad, what they did to us during Biden was worse, and they want to do it again. They want to do it again. The people of Nevada aren't going to let it happen, and your president's not going to let it happen. And so important. And again, we have the strongest border in the history of our country. But right here in Las Vegas, ICE recently arrested an illegal migrant who brutally stabbed and tried to murder his two roommates. He was violent. In Lyon County, ICE arrested an illegal alien convicted of 2 counts of sexually assaulting a child. He was vicious as you could be. The police almost didn't, and they are great. Our law enforcement, we have to have a hand for law enforcement. They said this was so bad, they almost didn't know what to do, but they did know. They take him away. That's why under the Trump administration, we will always stand with ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement. We will always stand strong with law enforcement. And we're also kicking all of these millions of illegal aliens off of our welfare. And it's part of the war on fraud led by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. He's doing a great job. And as illegal aliens go home, the cost of rent, groceries, and other staples is coming down very fast. Our costs are coming way down. You know, they talk about affordability. I took over the country. The prices were through the roof. In my first day, the press said, "What are you going to do about affordability?" It was a word they devised, affordability. No, they never used that word before. They said eggs are way too high, 4 times higher than they were in my administration. I said, "Tell me about eggs. Give me a little description of what you..." I was there one day. I had just won the election. It was January 21st, one day after I gave one day where I didn't do a press conference. Biden would go a whole year without doing a press conference for obvious reasons, for very obvious reasons. But we've been bringing down prices. And as soon as this situation ends with Iran, oil is going to go down to the floor, gasoline's going to go down, and we will have completed something in a short period of time that is a miracle. But remember, we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. You got to remember that. And we took it over. What a mess it was. And we're bringing down prices, and we brought down prices, and nobody can believe what's going on. And when oil goes down, and it's going to go down very rapidly, and it's happening very soon, already happening if you look, Today it's $75, down to $75. It's dropping. And we may have to send it up again. We may have to, you know what happens when we send it up, but we hope we don't have to. But when that oil and gasoline go down, everything else follows. But we've done a great job in reducing prices, and we've done an unbelievable job in making our country really, really respected and successful again. But under my most favored nation policy on drug prices, just to finish up, we're delivering the largest prescription drug price cuts in the history of our country, with price differences of 400, 500, and 600%. You know, my first term, I was the only president that over a one-year period, I got the prices down. They came down a little bit from January to the end of December. And I'll tell you how much they came down, 0.1%. Now you hear price differences of 500, 600, 700%. That alone should win us the midterms, because that has an impact on everything. And the Democrats will go back to the policies they gave you. We had the highest prices for prescription drugs of any country in the world, and now we have the lowest because of one person, happens to be the President of the United States. And in just 18 months, we've turned this country completely around. Our border is secure. Jobs are up. Inflation is down. Investment is pouring in like never before. Factories are opening. Our military is more powerful than it has ever been. America is back, and our greatest victories are still to come. We are having victory, and we're going to keep it that way, victory after victory. And with the help of our Republican majorities in Congress, we will crush violent crime, impose harsh new penalties on dangerous repeat offenders, crack down on Marxist prosecutors and rogue judges who are a horror show for our country. And we will end the thing that probably started this big crime wave, no cash bail. No cash bail. We will pass the Great Health Care Plan. It's called the Great Health Care Plan, to stop all payments to big insurance companies and give the money directly to the people. They give billions and billions of dollars because the big health insurance companies and insurance companies, they're totally controlled by the Democrats. We want to give the money not to the insurance companies, but to the people, and you go out and you buy your own health care, and you have money left over. You have better health care and money left over. And finally, we will pass the Save America Act to defend American elections. Thank you. Thank you. Remember, we didn't have one Democrat vote, not one for that, not one. All voters must show photo ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. And hopefully at a later date, there'll be no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel. And we will also enshrine in permanent law no men and women's sports and no transgender surgery on our children. So, ladies and gentlemen, and you are indeed great people. You're the people that built our country. But ladies and gentlemen of Nevada, the golden age of America is upon us. We're in the golden age. We're doing things that nobody ever thought possible. And together with your help, and patriots all across this magnificent land have been so unbelievable in what's taken place. You're part of it's a miracle. What's taken place is, some people call it a miracle. We call it good government. But we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Nevada. Thank you very much. We love you. God bless you. God bless you.
President Trump delivering a great speech in Nevada, showcasing everyday Americans and also talking about what our country would look like under communist rule. This as the midterms are exactly 90 days away from today. It appears that freedom and communism are on the November ballot. This live stream broadcast brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including MyPillow.com. A lot of great sponsors here on the network, including this one. A lot of great quality products there with MyPillow. Of course, Mike Lindell stepping down as CEO from MyPillow so he can focus his attention on his gubernatorial race in Minnesota, which August 11th is that primary election date. That news from earlier. Outside of that, there's still some great products that you can purchase if you'd like. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. rsbnetwork.com/donate. For those of you that are watching right now, thank you so much. There's a ton of people that were at least watching at least earlier, and it's great to have everyone watch on the pre-show and, of course, when we see the Commander-in-Chief. For all of us at RSBN, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you tomorrow.